Chapter 585. Earth, Ice City, Bay City, Sky City. In the backyard of Lin Jun's house, a girl was playing on a swing. The girl looked to be around 13 or 14 years old. She was very beautiful at such a young age. She was wearing a long white dress, and her facial features were picturesque. While she was having fun, a boy's voice sounded. "Mayor, have you finished your homework for today?" The 15-year-old boy, Lin Ping, has already grown to 185 meters. He is tall, handsome, and has the style of his father. Nowadays, the cultivation system of warriors is becoming more and more perfect. They don't have to wait until they are 16 years old to officially start practicing. Lin Ping just made a breakthrough a few days ago, advancing to the first grade war god realm. His younger brother, Linen, also advanced with him. Lin's strength is about the same as his brother's, but their personalities are very different. Lin Ping was a cultivation maniac, cold and serious. Linen, on the other hand, was more warm and kind. He wasn't as hard-working as his brother, but his cultivation level was still low, so the gap between the two wasn't too big. However, if it's a real life and death battle, Lin is still not as good as Lin Ping. The two brothers went out to hunt mutant beasts when they were 12 years old. They stayed in several warrior squads, but no one knows that these two boys with outstanding strength are actually the sons of the Sun Lord Lin Jun, a legend of the Sky River Empire. Hearing her brother's question, Mayor Lin raised her head, her beautiful little face glowing. "Of course I finished it. I finished 3 hours of physical training, 2 hours of cultural lessons, and 2 hours of cultivation lessons. Oh, yes, and half an hour of sword practice." "Really?" Lin Ping didn't seem to believe it. "If you don't believe me, you can ask my second brother. He also saw it." Lin Ping's expression didn't change. "This morning, I saw you wake up at 7. By the time you finished washing up and eating, it was already 8 o'clock. You told me that you spent 7.5 hours in a day, and that didn't include the time for lunch. However, it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. Adding everything together, it's only 6 hours. May I ask, how did you finish 7.5 hours of homework in 6 hours? Mayor Lin was speechless. In order to make her brother believe her, she had purposely said a little more about the cultivation time. But in the end, she had exposed herself. Seeing that she could no longer bluff her way out of this, Lin Mayer's little mouth flattened as tears welled up in her eyes. "But I'm really working very hard to practice. Big brother, don't be so fierce. At most, I'll ask Auntie Angel to tutor me at night." Looking at his sister's teary eyes, Lin Ping could no longer maintain his solemn expression and hurriedly went to coax his sister. "Mayor, don't cry. I'm just worried that you'll neglect your training. After all, Daddy isn't home, so we have to work harder. You just become a 5th-grade warlord. How can you do that? I'm 1 year younger than you, and I'm already the strongest girl in the school. Not everyone can compete with you two cultivation maniacs." Lin Ping was speechless for a moment. He had a strict temperament and a firm will, but he couldn't do anything about his sister. At this time, footsteps were heard, and a man and a woman who looked to be in their 30s walked over. "Grandpa, Grandma." Mayor Lin immediately rushed over as if she had found her savior. The people who had come were Lin Jin's parents. Li Qin hugged Mayor Lin and beamed. "My good granddaughter, why are you so close to Grandma today? Is your brother controlling you again? Are you trying to slack off?" With Lin Jun's continuous supply of star crystals, their realms had improved rapidly over the years, and they had actually cultivated to the stellar stage. Although their combat ability wasn't very strong, their realms were still there, and the average planet realm cultivator wasn't a match for them. No, brother is doing this for Mayor's sake. Mayor Lin still knew how to protect her brother. "Little girl, you're such a sweet girl. You're such a good child." Li Qin and her granddaughter were lovey-dovey, while Lin Lia asked about his grandson's cultivation. He and Lin Ping had both advanced to the warlord realm, which could be considered a big improvement. He wanted to ask about their future cultivation plans. A burst of bell-like laughter was heard, and the beauties of the Lin family appeared. And Ning and Su Mingyue came hand in hand. They were already over 30 years old, but they still looked like young girls in their 20s. This was the benefit of being a martial artist. They could stay young forever. Moreover, under Lin Jun's focused nurturing, they had both reached the black hole late stage, and their realms were the same as Lin Jun's. After all, Lin Jun had been delayed for 5 years, and he had also comprehended the stone tablet for 4 years before that. It was normal for his wife to catch up to him in terms of realms. After all, both of them were true geniuses. Behind them were the Angel Sisters and Ling Er. Their realms were originally higher than Su Ming Yue's, and Ning's realms were now also at the black hole stage. The Lin family's beauties were about to advance to the star system stage. Lin Ping also came with Ning and shouted from afar, "Grandpa, Grandma, brother, sister, it's time to eat. Hee, let's eat, let's eat." Lin Lia walked over with his grandson and granddaughter, and the family prepared to eat in the garden's restaurant. A shrill alarm suddenly sounded. Enemy attack, enemy attack. An unknown spaceship has entered the atmosphere and will arrive in 1 minute. The attacking spaceship accelerated from Mars into the parallel universe, and it would take less than a minute to reach Earth. This alarm was already considered fast. The whole family was stunned for a moment, and then Lin Lia shouted, "Prepare for defense. Everyone, quickly enter the secret room." As Lin Jun's family, although they were usually very safe and comfortable, no one let down their guard because they were Lin Jun's lifeblood. They definitely could not let anything happen to Lin Jun and cause trouble for him. Usually, such emergency drills were conducted many times, and since the whole family was here today, they immediately took action. Su Mingwei held onto Mei Lin, and Ning held onto her 2 sons. The Lin family didn't need anyone to lead them, and the whole family instantly rushed to the secret room's entrance in the garden. Ling pressed the remote control on the way, and the secret room's entrance hidden behind the flower wall instantly appeared. This was the secret room's defense system from the Fire Qilin Empire. The alloy insulator wall could withstand a direct attack from a domain monarch without being damaged. When the secret room's entrance appeared, everyone entered in an orderly manner. At this moment, the shadows of spaceships appeared in the sky. They dove down at sublight speed, and the 5 spaceships cooperated quite well. As they passed through the parallel universe, they avoided the interception of the fortress satellites and the railguns and directly appeared outside the Earth's atmosphere. They came very quickly. Before the spaceships landed, the cannons in the sky were already blasting toward Lin Jun's house. Lin Jun's house was in Sky City, and there was also defense here. When they appeared, Sky City's defense opened fire. The 5 spaceships seemed to have practiced this thousands of times. 4 spaceships activated their protective shields to cover the spaceship in the middle. The rumbling defensive firepower hit the 4 spaceships, and their protective shields were quickly depleted. At this rate, they would be destroyed in less than 10 seconds. However, they bought time for the main spaceship, and the laser cannons were already blasting down. Ling was the last to enter the secret room. Before the door of the secret room completely closed, the laser cannons accurately hit the door. There was a violent tremor. Because the door was not closed, the defense system was destroyed. Quick! The second defensive door. The family increased their speed and rushed into the second defensive door like a gust of wind. The circular door quickly closed. Just as it closed, the first door was already completely destroyed. Swish, 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 swish. A group of figures flashed, and more than 20 Nebula stage martial artists had already arrived in front of the defensive door. "Boss, this is bad. We're 1 step too late. Maybe it's just a second." These people from Lin Jun's house are quite vigilant. However, they would never dream that we've done so much to catch them. We can already crack the defense of this secret room from the Fire Qilin. Activate the decoder. Open the defense. This time, I want to catch them easily. A Nebula stage martial artist immediately rushed over and fixed a huge decoder on the door. The numbers on it kept jumping. This door had a 22-digit password, and it was being decoded at a rate of 3 seconds. Ha ha ha. This time, they won't be able to escape. I know this defense system very well. After the second door is opened, there's a living space inside. For safety's sake, there's no other exit. Just nice, we can wipe them all out. The red-faced man rubbed his hands excitedly. The girls from Lin Jin's house are all stunning. Although there's only one girl like Feng Qingwan, they're not bad either. Besides, ordinary people can't handle Feng Qingwan. I prefer girls like Su Minghua. And Ning I like the beautiful angel sisters. Don't steal them from me. That Linger is also very beautiful. She's the princess of the elves. The Nebula stage martial artist behind revealed a lewd smile. In just a few sentences, they had divided up Lin Zhen's beauties. The boss sneered. Then I'll choose Lin Zhen's daughter. The sound of a little girl being ravaged is the most beautiful sound in the world. Speaking of which, Lin Zhen is really stupid. Doesn't he know that the strongest defense is not machines, but humans? All machines are man-made. If they can be built, they can be decoded. Only powerful martial artists are the most unbreakable. The decoder spun rapidly. Only the last 5 digits of the password were left to be decoded. At this time, a cold voice came from behind. You want to touch Mr. Lin Zhen's family? Shouldn't you ask for our opinion first? The outsiders turned around and saw 2 people standing outside the door. One was a Nebula Stage 8 martial artist. Some people even recognized him. He was the Black Dragon, the leader of the Black Pearl, Slank. The other was a powerful martial artist who used to dominate the arena many years ago, Xian General. As a high-level Nebula beast, Slank was stronger than most martial artists of the same level. His Nebula Stage 8 was comparable to a Stage 9 martial artist. Xian General was originally at the pinnacle of Stage 9. After not being able to go to the arena for many years and focusing on cultivation, his strength had increased by another level. He was now comparable to the 7 malefic stars of the past. Chapter 586. As soon as Xian General appeared, he shot out a laser gun and hit the decoder. The decoder was destroyed, and the decoding was interrupted. There are only 2 of them. Attack! The leader waved his hand, and the battle began. More than 20 Nebula Stage cultivators surrounded them. Among them, there were 3 Nebula Stage 9. 2 of them led a group of people to attack Xian General, while 1 led a group of people to attack Slank. The boss waved his hand, twisted his body, and disappeared into thin air. In a narrow space, the battle was extremely intense. Xian Jiang was worthy of being called a great god. He could kill an enemy almost every second. 5 seconds into the battle, 5 people had already fallen under his blade. On the other side, Slank was also forcing his opponent to retreat. Suddenly, the space behind him fluctuated and the leader appeared. He stabbed his sword and pierced Slank's heart. Slank screamed and fell to the ground, dead on the spot. In this way, the pressure on the profound general was even greater, especially the other party's boss, who was also a god-level expert. His strength was not below the profound general's. He could be described as elusive. Under the cover of others, the profound general was unable to defend himself. In the narrow space, violent energy turbulence surged. There was nowhere for the energy to go. The battle was extremely dangerous for everyone. After a series of muffled sounds, the battle ended. The ground was littered with people. On the side of the attackers, the leader was also slightly injured, but he survived. Other than him, there were 4 survivors. The rest were all killed by Xian General. But the price he paid was that his heart was pierced by the leader, and he died on the spot. Phew! Finally got rid of these 2 eyesores. I didn't expect Lin Zhen to have a trick up his sleeve. Damn it! Kicking the Xian General's corpse fiercely, Boss spat a mouthful of saliva. But this is the end. As a small feudal lord, Lin Zhen's defenses can't be any stronger. And we still have a backup decoder. The 4 Nebula Stage elites went out. Although there were some guards outside, in front of the Nebula Stage elites, they could not withstand a single blow. Boss took out a new decoder. After 1 minute of decoding, the second defensive door opened with a beep. Boss walked into the room and sneered at Lin Zhen and his family, who were hiding in the corner. TSK, TSK. This is really a happy family. They're both old and young. That bastard Lin Zhen's life really makes people jealous. And Ning and Su Minghua protected their children tightly, while Lin Lie and Li Qin stood in front of their daughter-in-law. The Angel Sisters and Linger protected their sides, and the whole family glared at their boss. You don't have to look at me like that. I might as well tell you that I'm ranked third in the arena of the 55th district. People like you who haven't even reached the nebula stage are definitely not enough to withstand my finger. So, don't put up any unnecessary resistance. You're all delicate beauties, and I don't want to hurt you." At this point, his expression suddenly changed. "But if you don't know what's good for you, I'll make you regret being human today. When Dad comes back, he'll definitely kill you." Mayor Lin shouted excitedly. "Oomph, your dad hasn't been back for many years. Little girl, have you forgotten what your dad looks like? Since you worship him so much, I'll start with you." After saying that, he suddenly rushed toward Mayor Lin. Mayor Lin was the heart of the whole family. When they saw the enemy rushing toward them, almost everyone moved. But it was useless. The difference in strength was too big, and they were no match for him at all. Everyone was instantly sent flying. Boss grinned and rushed in front of Mayor Lin. "Today, I'll make you a real woman. Let's see if your dead dad can come and save you." A hand grabbed toward Mayor Lin, and a huge force locked the space. She was only at the warlord stage, so she could not move at all. The only thing she could do was to cry and shout, "Dad." Boss' hand was already grabbing Mayor Lin's chest. It was less than 10 centimeters away. It seemed that even the gods could not change anything. Boss could not wait to have a taste of the beautiful girl. He even imagined the wonderful touch. His fingers were slightly bent, and he was ready to pinch her hard. But it was just a distance as far as the horizon. He tried to reach out, but the distance was still so far. "What's going on?" Behind Mayor Lin, there was a smooth and bright alloy wall, and one could clearly see the reflection of a person's figure. He saw that from the outside door, a figure walked in. In his hand was a bloody spear, and it was obvious that he had killed someone to enter. Lin Jun. Seeing Lin Jun walk in, the people of the Lin family could hardly believe their eyes. They were suppressed by boss power before, and they could not rescue Mayor Lin. Everyone felt that their hearts were about to break, but Lin Jun came back, and everything was different. Mayor Lin's big eyes were full of tears, and the power that suppressed her just now had disappeared. She avoided boss and ran quickly to Lin Jun's side and threw herself into Lin Jun's arms. "Dad, you're finally back." "Whoa." Lin Jun hugged his daughter in his arms, and he was secretly relieved. If he came back a little later, the situation would be unimaginable. But fortunately, he was lucky, and he came back just in time. This incident also sounded the alarm for Lin Jun. No matter how strong the defense system was, it was just a dead object, and it would never be as good as human defense. In the future, if he could not give his family a safe place to live, he would rather stay at home forever. Originally, Lin Jun thought that he could bring his family into the dark star space. But after the 7 stars entered the dark star space, this plan was put on hold indefinitely. Lin Jun could not bring his family into a planet with 7 suns, and the space was unstable, so this plan was temporarily abandoned. As for how to ensure the safety of his family in the future, that was a matter for the future, and he had to solve the problem at hand first. His mental power activated the time field and firmly locked the space where Boss was, and time stopped in that small area. To comfort his daughter, Mayor Lin finally stopped crying, but she still clung to her father like a teddy bear, unwilling to leave. Lin Jun helped his parents up, and they were also suppressed by boss power, so they were not injured. He also helped his 2 wives up, and Ning and Su Mingyue saw that their husband had returned, and their eyes were red with tears, but they were too embarrassed to be too close with so many people, but their hearts finally calmed down. The angel sisters and Linger also cried, and Lin Jun could only comfort them one by one. Lin Ping and Lin came in front of their father and said with red eyes, "Dad, we didn't protect little sister well. You can scold us." "No, I shouldn't scold you. You have already done everything. I didn't protect you well." After Lin Jun finished speaking, he patted his 2 sons on the shoulders. "Do you want to avenge little sister?" The 2 boys nodded, and their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at Boss, who was motionless there. "This person can't be touched. You can use all the methods you can, and do whatever you want to him." "Dad, don't worry, leave it to us." Lin Jun asked his parents, wives, and daughters to leave first. He had already cleaned up all the enemies outside, and there was no longer any danger. He stayed with his 2 sons and wanted to see what they would do. After a while, Lin Ping and Linen brought back a lot of things. Knives, axes, charcoal, chainsaws, and even a bucket of feces from who knows where. Lin Jun raised his eyebrows. Tell me about your plan. This person is too disgusting. If we simply kill him, we will be letting him off easy. We have decided to feed him 20 pounds of feces and then dismember him bit by bit, just like slaughtering a mutant beast. Lin Jun was a little speechless. Looking at his second son in high spirits, he wondered who this kid's cheerful personality was like. Although Lin Ping didn't quite agree with his brother's plan, when he thought about what Boss wanted to do to little sister, he didn't insist. He deserved it. Lin Jun could clearly see the pleading look in the eldest son's eyes. Lin Jun, give me a quick and painless death. However, Lin Jun wouldn't do as he wished. As a great god in the nebulous stage, being treated like this by 2 underage, first-grade war gods would be worse than death. Lin Jun had always respected warriors. Even if they were enemies, he was willing to give them a quick death. However, this person couldn't. He had to be punished. Lin Jun firmly locked the time, then gestured to his 2 sons. You can do it now. The 2 sons excitedly walked over, and Lin Ping directly inserted a metal crowbar into the eldest son's mouth. He pressed down hard, and with a crack, the eldest son's mouth was pried open, and blood flowed out. A large funnel was inserted into the throat, and Linen put on a mask and took a large feces spoon. Bastard, I'll make you regret being a human. The spoon went down, and Lin Jun silently turned his head. He had no problem killing people, but this kind of scene wasn't worth looking at. The punishment lasted for 3 hours. Lin Jun simply closed his eyes and cultivated. He didn't look at the scene from beginning to end, and let his sons do whatever they wanted. When Lin Jun opened his eyes, he found that the room had been cleaned, and the eldest son had disappeared. Where is he? Lin Jun asked his son. He was chopped up and fed to the dogs. I chopped him up bit by bit. First, I chopped off his hand, then his 4 limbs, including his 5th limb. Finally, I took his life. Lin Jun waved his hand, indicating that his son didn't need to say anymore. He didn't want to hear it either. Let's go and see Mom and little sister. Remember, don't slack off on your cultivation. There are many women in our family. When Dad isn't home, you have to take on the responsibility of protecting our family. Chapter 587. Are you going to leave again this time? On a large bed, Su Mingyue was panting as she nestled in Lin Jun's embrace. Her husband's valiance made her love and hate him at the same time. Even if it was her and sister and Ning, it was not enough to torment Lin Jun. Gently stroking his wife's smooth back, Lin Jun said, "We won't leave for the time being, at least not before you all grow up." After this incident, Lin Jun had learned enough lessons. After returning home, Lin Jun planned to stay at home for a long time. If he bought slaves from the outside, it was very difficult to buy slaves of the nebulous stage. The best way was to let his family grow up. Of course, this was a long process, but Lin Jun was not sure time now. Husband that. How is Sister Qingwan? Su Mingyue and the others all knew about Feng Qingwan. Originally, they thought that Lin Jun would bring back his sister when he came back, but they didn't expect that Lin Jun came back alone. She went to the Yuan realm. Are you going to the Yuan realm too? Not for the time being, but I will go in the future. We will go there slowly. We can't stay here forever. Well, everything is up to you. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Lin Jun was going to stay at home for a long time this time. He won't leave until he can guarantee the safety of his family. And now, the only person who can still be regarded as Lin Jun's enemy is the heavenly square domain monarch. The dimensional universe was now full of information about Sagittarius, the pillar of life, and Elysium. In a video, Lin Jun saw that the heavenly square domain monarch also went to Elysium. The Sagittarius constellation isn't very far from the solar system where Lin Jun is located. It belongs to the Sky River Empire. If the heavenly square domain king wants to take revenge, he can arrive here within a day, so the place where Lin Jun is located isn't very safe. However, Lin Jun didn't want to escape. Not to mention that the heavenly square domain monarch wouldn't leave Elysium easily. Even if he left, where could he go? The only way was to increase his strength. However, Lin Jun didn't wait foolishly. He contacted someone. This person was the emperor of the Sky River Empire, Long Ju Tian. Long Ju Tian had now advanced to the Star Domain stage. He was currently cultivating in the Heavenly Gate, hoping to go to the Yuan realm one day. He was not far from the Tianfeng Domain Monarch. Lin Jun had asked him to keep an eye on the Tianfeng Domain Monarch's movements. Once the Tianfeng Domain Monarch left, Lin Jun would immediately make preparations. The days spent with her family were also blissful. Lin Jun was able to personally witness the growth of her family. Under Lin Jun's guidance, his family members' realms all advanced by leaps and bounds. Instead, it was Lin Jun's advancement that began to slow down. In his second year on Earth, Lin Jun had reached the peak of the Black Hole Realm. Advancing to the peak of the Black Hole Realm gave Lin Jun another 2,000 points of star power. After transferring his star power has reached 29,000 points, which is close to the standard of the Yuan Realm's geniuses. However, Lin Jun found that he could hardly go any further, because in his Dantian, the mutant black hole gave Lin Jun a dangerous feeling. For a warrior, advancing from the peak of the Black Hole Realm to the Nebula Realm is the most critical stage. If one can't pass it, they will be reduced to ashes. Lin Jun's soul once passed through a black hole, and his body is also a black hole beast, which formed an indissoluble bond with the black hole. Now that he is at the peak of the Black Hole Realm, Lin Jun always felt that the mutant black hole was dark and deep, as if it could swallow everything. It seems to be a little out of control. Lin Jun didn't dare to rashly try the process of transforming a black hole into a white hole. At least, his current star power is definitely not enough. If I don't count my clone, my star power is actually only 16,000 points. This level of star power is not enough. I can feel that when the black hole changes, it will be impossible to withstand it without 100,000 points of star power. 100,000 points of star power. Then my body might need 60,000 points of star power to do it. This process is a little long. Lin Jun knew that even without the black hole, he would still need 100,000 points of star power. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fight against the Domain Monarch expert. The only thing I could do now is to speed up the cultivation of the Dark Star and let it reach the new generation. When the Dark Star reaches the peak of the new generation, I estimate that I will be able to light up my first star, Mars. After making up his mind, Lin Jun began the long process of cultivating the Dark Star. The cultivation of the Dark Star was not that simple. Lin Jun still had quite a few heart of nature on his planet. However, the higher the level of the Dark Star, the harder it was to advance. Lin Jun had spent a total of 5 years to advance the power of the Dark Star from the peak of the Mesozoic generation to the early stages of the Cenozoic generation. In these 5 years, Lin Jun's family had undergone huge changes. Firstly, Lin Jun's clone had been forging heaven artifact for sale. This was Lin Jun's main source of income. In these 5 years, Lin Jun's bank account had accumulated 200 billion cosmos crystals. He also became a 9-star supreme customer of the universe First Bank's Fire Chilin branch. With the backing of wealth, Lin Jun's family's realms improved greatly. The first to advance to the nebula stage was Lin Jun's wife, Su Mingwei. The former Holy Lady of the Divine Sect was almost as talented as Lin Jun. In the summer of the 3rd year, Su Mingwei finally broke through and successfully advanced to the nebula stage. Although 5,000 points of star power didn't seem like much, it was actually a lot. One had to know that a Nebula Level 9 Great God, like Xian General, only had 10,000 points of star power. Just 3 days after Su Mingwei advanced, and Ning also smoothly advanced to the Nebula stage and also reached 5,000 points of star power. After that, the few beauties in Lin Jun's family, Ling Angel, and her sister all made breakthroughs and became Nebula stage experts. Even Lin Jun's parents had advanced to the black hole stage. However, it was very difficult for them to smoothly pass the black hole stage. Lin Jun still had to think of ways to help them smoothly pass this tribulation so that he could continue to accompany them. As for Lin Jun's children, Lin Ping and Lin and had already cultivated to the fleeting cycle stage. Mayor Lin had also reached the peak of the Star Core stage. After the previous incident, the children had all grown up and placed cultivation as their top priority. Everyone in the family had broken through, but Lin Jun was still at the peak of the black hole stage. This made his wives a little worried that Lin Jun would feel a psychological gap. However, Lin Jun just smiled and told them that he was deliberately suppressing his strength. When he could break through, he would naturally break through. This period might be very long, so he let them cultivate on their own. Indeed, it was a very long time. Unknowingly, the divine gate had already been open for 100 years. Sagittarius was about 25,000 light-years away from the solar system. In the Christian calendar, there was a wine-red nebula known as one of the 10 wonders of the universe. The wine-red nebula referred to the huge nebula gas mass in the Sagittarius constellation that was thousands of light-years wide. From an astronomical telescope, it was all red gas. After investigation, it was found that this gas mass contained a large amount of alcohol. Through the refraction of light and some other phenomena, this color would appear. However, at that time, technology was backward, and humans could only land on the moon. Their understanding of celestial bodies outside the solar system was pitifully little. All conclusions were made through speculation and other means, so it was inevitable that there would be a lot of errors. It was only in this era that the formation of the wine-red nebula was known to Earthlings. It was true that there was alcohol there, but the real reason for the formation of the wine-red nebula was the heavenly light that shone down from the heavenly gate. That was the light of the primordial realm. The light of the primordial realm shone on the nebula, illuminating it in a wine-red color. And the so-called pillar of life was the pillar of the primordial realm's heavenly gate. Now, in front of the heavenly gate, under the pillar of life, a large number of warriors had gathered. Warriors from 36,000 advanced civilizations had gathered here. The number could no longer be described by the word large. That was countless. Some people had made a rough calculation. At the peak of the heavenly gate, there were more than 9 million and a trillion warriors. The lowest was the black hole stage, and the highest was the world king stage. The dense army of warriors almost filled the entire wine-red nebula area. Under the heavenly gate, the crowd was as dense as sardines. Those who could squeeze to the front were all top experts. Those in the black hole and nebula stages could only queue at the back. Only those who had some connections would be brought to the front to attempt the heavenly gate. It was not easy to measure how tall the heavenly gate was, but the height of the pillar of life could be seen through astronomical telescopes in the solar system. From this, one could imagine how huge it was. Wanting to break through the heavenly gate sounded very simple. One just had to jump from the bottom of the heavenly gate. If one could jump over it, they would pass. However, this was not flying. Instead, a warrior would charge forward with a mouthful of astral power without taking a breath. In theory, if one had unlimited astral power, they would definitely be able to cross the heavenly gate. There was endless pressure above the heavenly gate. This was the pressure from the primordial realm. Only if one could withstand the pressure and charge up, they would succeed. World King powerhouses had to withstand the greatest pressure, followed by the Domain King, Nebula Stage, and Black Hole Stage powerhouses had to withstand the least pressure. However, this was relative. The Heavenly Gate had been open for 100 years. Those who could pass were mostly Domain Kings and Domain Kings. There were very few Nebula Stage powerhouses who could pass. As for Black Hole Stage powerhouses, not a single one had appeared. In front of the Heavenly Gate, which was as big as the Asian continent, people were calmly cultivating. If they could not pass this time, they would seize the opportunity to cultivate. If they could rush higher next time, it would also be a motivation for cultivation. Look, another person is breaking through the heavenly gate. F*CK, so fast. Everyone looked up and saw a person rapidly rising in the sky. His speed was as fast as lightning. It seemed that he was about to succeed. 3 minutes later, The clouds above the clear sky parted, and the heavenly gate opened. Success! The person who succeeded in breaking through the heavenly gate looked back as he passed through the heavenly gate. He directly transmitted his voice to the Tianfeng domain king, who was sitting far away. Tianfeng, I succeeded. You must avenge my son, Yihua. Otherwise, I will not be at ease in the primordial realm. If you don't help me, I will not let you go when you go to the primordial realm. Chapter 588. The mechanical realm king's words were only heard by Tianfeng. No one else could hear it. Actually, even without the mechanical realm king's words, Tianfeng had recently thought of leaving temporarily. He had been in the heavenly gate for 100 years and had already attempted to break through 3 times. According to people's estimates, the heavenly gate was 1 million kilometers tall. Tianfeng's first attempt had only reached 100,000 kilometers. It was not easy to obtain an opportunity to break through. He had used his good relationship with the mechanical realm king to ask him to bring him here. After failing his first attempt, he could no longer occupy the front row and could only return to the domain monarch's area to cultivate. After cultivating for 30 years, Tianfeng had already reached the 3rd level of the domain monarch and attempted to break through again. But this time, when he reached 150,000 kilometers, his astral power ran out, and he was eliminated again. After being eliminated, he returned and cultivated for another 50 years until he reached the 5th level of the domain monarch. When he tried to break through again, he only reached 230,000 kilometers and was still eliminated. Tianfeng summarized his experience of failure. One reason was that he did not have enough star power. Another reason was that his cultivation speed was getting slower and slower. The reason was that there was still something in his heart that he had not completed. That was Linjun. If he did not get rid of Linjun, he felt that he would never be able to cultivate to the World King level. However, he could not bear to leave because the mechanical realm king could give him a chance to break through. But today, this fantasy of his was completely shattered. The mechanical realm king had successfully broken through the heavenly gate and entered the primordial realm. No one would fight for a front row opportunity for him. One had to know that those in the front row were all World King powerhouses. Only those in the front row were qualified to lead others to break through. This was the world of martial artists where the strong preyed on the weak. There were countless martial artists here. Other than working hard to cultivate, they would strive to establish a relationship with a powerful World King. Otherwise, if you only knew how to cultivate, no one would give up their position to a stranger unless they cultivated to the World King level and occupied the front row. Even if a powerhouse like the Mechanical Realm King left, other World Kings would immediately replace him. A 5th-level domain monarch like him would never have a chance. Currently, his only method was to leave the Heavenly Gate, find Linjun, and kill him. Then, he would strive to cultivate to the World King realm within 800 years and return here. This was because the Heavenly Gate had been open for more than 100 years and would close in another 800 years. If one did not charge through the Heavenly Gate before then, they would forever lose the opportunity to enter the primordial realm. In the next 10,000 years, Tianfeng's bones would probably have rotted away. This was no longer just a matter of him avenging Tianzi and Yihua. This was a matter of Tianfeng's life and death. After making his decision, Tianfeng resolutely left the gate of heaven. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to kill Linjun. As soon as Tianfeng left, the dragon Zhu Tian, who was also a level 5-star sector level, immediately sent a message to Linjun through the dimensional universe. The king of the mechanical realm has entered the primordial realm. The king of the Tianfeng domain has left. Be careful. In the sky above Linjun's home, amidst the clouds, Linjun was cultivating in midair. Although he knew that this cultivation wouldn't be easy, he didn't expect it to be this difficult. 100 years had passed in the blink of an eye. His dark star had advanced to the peak of the new generation. If such a planet was in the real world, it would be completely habitable. However, he was in Linjun's Dantian. The evolution of life wouldn't be so fast. Currently, there were only some microorganisms on the dark star. The peak of the new generation dark star had increased Lin Jun's star power by another 10,000 stars. Now, Lin Jun's main body star power had reached 26,000, and his doppelganger star power was 21,000. His total star power was as high as 47,000 stars. This was enough to dominate all the nebula stage cultivators in the new territories. However, on the surface, Lin Jun was still at the peak of the black hole realm. He hadn't improved at all. If he took another step forward, he would face the threshold of entering the nebula star system. Lin Jun couldn't do that. Compared to Lin Jun's slow cultivation, Lin Jun's family had improved too quickly in the past 100 years. And Ning and Yu Er, who were at the nebula level 9, and the sisters Ling Er and Angel had also advanced to the nebula level 9 not long ago. They had all become well-known figures in the nebula stage. The 5 of them had formed a team in the arena. Yu Er and Ning were the strongest. Their star power had reached 15,000 stars. They were already at the same level as the 5 ghosts and Inghua. Ling Er and Angel's star power had also exceeded 10,000 stars. They were both at the Great God level. In the 77th District 5066-8 battle zone, the name Beautiful Team was already widely known. Not only was this team strong, but their beauty was also unprecedented. The 5 top-notch beauties had already become an idol-level team. However, people didn't know that they were Lin Jun's family. Thanks to Lin Jun's hard work, his parents had finally broken through the black hole stage 3 years ago. They had successfully advanced to the nebula level, which had been a huge burden on Lin Jun's mind. His parents' combat power had also improved significantly. If they were too weak, Lin Jun wouldn't have been able to help them break through the black hole stage no matter how hard he tried. For this reason, he had specially let his parents go around to gain experience. From simple to difficult, they had finally grown through battle after battle. Although they hadn't reached the level of geniuses, they were still considered top-notch. After the 2 of them had broken through, they had immediately joined their grandson and granddaughter's team. Lin Ping and Lin and had both reached the nebula level 7, while Mayor Lin had also reached the nebula level 6. Although their combat power couldn't be compared to their mothers, they weren't considered weak either. More importantly, the children hadn't chosen to get married. Due to the impact of the previous incident, they didn't have much intention to get married. Everything was based on strength. However, his family wasn't happy. In their opinion, Lin Jun's progress was too slow. A peak black hole stage could actually stay for 100 years. Even within the Sun territory, many people were saying that Lord Lin Jun's strength was too weak and that he was no longer fit to be a lord. If it weren't for his wives being strong enough, he would have been overthrown long ago. Rumors were everywhere, and there was a lot of noise. It wasn't that Lin Jun didn't know about all this. He just didn't care. Only he knew that after his dark star space had advanced to the peak of the new generation, he was almost able to light up the first star. After preparing for a few days, Lin Jun came to the clouds and was ready to make a breakthrough. His Emerald Ray Mind power, which had reached 95%, sank into his dantian and began to look inside. In the dark star space, 7 gray stars were arranged in a spoon shape. From the tip of the spoon to the tail, they were Rahu, Jidu, Pajun, Qisha, Wugui, Yutan, and Inghua. Among the 7 stars, Rahu's star power was the strongest, while Inghua's star power was the weakest. Sitting cross-legged in the void, Lin Jun thought to himself, "Of the 26,000 star power in my body, about half comes from the dark star. I wonder how much star power I can get from lighting up Inghua's star. I hope I can get 40,000. That way, my total star power will exceed 100,000. His mind power floated in the dark star space and covered the Inghua star. The star's powerful star power made Lin Jun deeply feel its power. It definitely surpassed the new generation of dark stars. Come, new Inghua star, contribute your star power. His mind power fiercely bombarded the Inghua star, tearing a corner of the ominous star map. The Inghua star's power that had been sealed by the ominous star map for 100 years finally erupted. The fierce star power was like an upside-down river, crazily pouring into the dark star space. Wave after wave of star power spread out like a tide. The impact was simply unstoppable. If it wasn't for Lin Jun's 100 years of cultivation that allowed the dark star space to expand enough to accommodate enough star power, this place would definitely burst open. If one were to look at it from the dark star space, the Inghua star would be like a sun, sprinkling rays of sunlight onto the dark star space. The artificial sun that Lin Jun had created using the power of holy light completely collapsed and disappeared. There was no longer a place for them to stay in the dark star space. After a full hour of impact, the Inghua star finally stabilized in the dark star space. At this time, Lin Jun only felt the powerful star power reaching his limbs and bones. His hair stood on end under the stimulation of the star power. His eyes opened, and two brilliant rays of light shot into the sky. That was because he couldn't suppress the star power he released. It was a sudden surge of power, and it was somewhat uncontrollable. Such a phenomenon even attracted the attention of the radar of Lin Jun's guards. They immediately scanned over with infrared rays, but after discovering that it was Lin Jun, they immediately moved aside. In the past 100 years, there were even many nebula stage guards among the guards, but they still stayed on Earth loyally to protect Lin Jun's family. Closing his eyes slightly, Lin Jun's dark star space calmed down. Chris, check my current star power. I want detailed data. Master, I've checked. Lighting up the star of confusion has given you an extra 44,000 points of astral power. Now, your own body has exactly 70,000 points of astral power. Your clone has 65,000 points of astral power. With the astral power transfer, your astral power is 135,000 points. 135,000? What kind of concept is that? Genius domain monarchs who have just entered the star domain stage can reach 100,000 star power, but ordinary domain monarchs only have 70,000 to 80,000 star power. 135,000 star power is equivalent to an ordinary level 5 or level 6 domain monarch, or a level 1 or level 2 genius domain monarch. As for the strength of a domain monarch, Lin Jun didn't say anything, but joy was written all over his face. Master, I received a message from your good friend, the dragon Ju Tian. He told you that the mechanical domain monarch has entered the primordial realm through the heavenly gate, and the Tianfeng domain monarch has left the heavenly gate. He wants you to be careful. Oh, then he must be here. Now that the mechanical domain monarch has left, he has no backing in the heavenly gate, so he wants to get rid of me first. According to the calculation of the position of the Sagittarius constellation and the solar system, if he wants to enter the solar system, then he must pass through the sky of Uranus. I'll go to Uranus and wait for his arrival. Chapter 589. Uranus was located at the edge of the solar system, and the entire planet was covered in ice and snow. The lowest temperature here could reach negative 220 degrees Celsius, and it was a complete forbidden zone for life. Even if a martial artist came here, they might be frozen by the extreme cold in an instant, so they had to have powerful firepower as a backup. This place was once called the Cold Star by astronomers in the past. After Lin Jun became the Sun Overlord, many planets in the solar system were developed one by one. The 5 stars of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were now habitable planets, but this place had never been developed. The reason was cold, too damn cold. However, it was nothing to powerful martial artists. As long as they had sufficient astral power, they could release astral power to resist the extreme cold. Stopping on Uranus, Lin Jun waited quietly for the arrival of the Tianfeng domain monarch. He looked up in the direction of the sun. This place was different from Earth. The sun was just a bright spot in the distant sky, not much bigger than a star. According to the changes of the 4 seasons, it's late autumn on Uranus now, and it's not the coldest time yet. If it's winter, who knows how cold it will be. I'm afraid that everyone will have problems surviving, especially when they don't have enough astral power. Lin Jun sensed that the temperature here was negative 150 degrees Celsius. He had a vague idea in his mind. About 3 hours later, a spaceship approached from the starry sky like a ghost. The guard on duty who had received Lin Jun's orders immediately reported the situation of the spaceship to Lin Jun. "Sir Overlord, the spaceship you asked us to pay attention to has arrived. He refused to accept our interrogation and just barged in. Should we stop him?" Lin Jun shook his head slightly. "No need. You can't stop a domain monarch." After cutting off the communication, Lin Jun waited until the spaceship passed through the atmosphere of Uranus. Suddenly, the gravitational force exploded. After the Mars star lit up, Lin Jun could already use the gravitational force of 2 stars. If the dark star's gravitational force was 1, then Mars' gravitational force was 3. It was very difficult to resist such a strong gravitational force. The Tianfeng domain monarch was driving the spaceship at sublight speed. Suddenly, a huge force pulled his spaceship downwards, and a shrill alarm sounded. Tianfeng wanted to escape from the spaceship, but it was too late. That huge force was like a rubber band, instantly smashing the spaceship into the planet's surface. At this time, the internal control of the spaceship was completely cut off. Tianfeng could only helplessly let his body hang in the air and try his best not to touch anything. Boom! Within 2 seconds, the spaceship smashed into the ground of Uranus from space. The Earth trembled, the glacier cracked, and the spaceship was smashed dozens of meters deep into the ground, completely turning into scrap metal. The moment the spaceship shattered, the Tianfeng domain king broke out of the spaceship. Ooh! Tianfeng's face was filled with fear. As a domain monarch expert, very few people dared to launch a sneak attack on him. However, those who dared to launch a sneak attack on him were definitely powerful figures. Lin Jun waved his hand and walked out of the flying snow. "Tianfeng, do you know that this is private property?" "Lin Jun, how dare you?" The Tianfeng domain monarch was relieved when he saw that it was Lin Jun. No matter how strong or how talented Lin Jun was, it was impossible for him to compete with him. He had not even reached the nebulous stage, and Tianfeng was already a level 5 domain monarch. Although Tianfeng's strength was not outstanding among the domain monarchs and could even be described as mediocre, he did not have to worry about a black hole stage cultivator. There were some successful black hole stage cultivators who challenged nebula stage cultivators, but as far as he knew, no one had succeeded in challenging star domain stage cultivators. "You killed my son, Tianzi. It took me 100 years to avenge him. Letting you live for 100 years is already letting you off easy. You've enjoyed everything you should have for so many years, so prepare to be buried with my son. Tianfeng, do you believe that I can tell fortunes?" "Tell fortunes? What can you tell?" Lin Jun smiled. "I can tell that you will never have a chance to pass the heavenly gate. Do you believe me?" Bullsh asterisk T. Tianfeng's expression changed. Passing the heavenly gate was his obsession. As a domain monarch, he had already enjoyed the charm of wealth and power. How could he give it up? However, passing the heavenly gate meant no immortality. He had to pass it. He did not want to die. What do you know about divination? People say that fortune tellers don't know how to tell their own fortunes. You should tell when you will die. "I won't die." What a joke. Let me tell for you. Today will be your anniversary. Whoosh. Before he finished speaking, there was a piercing sound. Tianfeng made his move. His weapon was a golden saber. As he swung his saber, the saber light tore through the wind and snow on the heavenly king planet and arrived above Lin Jun's head in an instant. Clang! Lin Jun's armor and astral power transfer were completed instantly. The yin-yang spear met the attack head-on. This was not a fight between energy forms. It was a fight between real weapons. The Tianfeng domain monarch's saber hit the spear, causing the entire heavenly king planet to tremble. With Lin Jun's feet as the fulcrum, cracks spread out from the ground like a spider web until they reached the end of their vision. The airwaves rolled into the distance like an atomic explosion. The surrounding icebergs were piled up high and rolled into the distance like snowballs. However, at the center of the collision, Lin Jun did not move at all. The Tianfeng domain monarch's eyes widened. In his opinion, killing Lin Jun would be a piece of cake. However, He did not expect the two of them to be evenly matched. The two of them did the same thing, which was to check each other's astral power. The Tianfang domain monarch used all his strength to avenge his son. It was Lin Jun's first time facing a domain monarch, and he also used all his strength to resist. Both of them did not hold back, so this time they used the highest amount of astral power. However, both of them were shocked. The Tianfang domain monarch was shocked, and Lin Jun was pleasantly surprised. Both of their astral powers were 135,000. There was no difference at all. Ha! Tianfang, I did not expect you to have the same amount of astral power as me. Good. All these years, I have been looking for an evenly matched opponent to fight, but I have never found one. You came at the right time. Let's fight to the death. Lin Jun's desire to fight was completely stimulated by the Tianfang domain monarch. It was rare to meet someone with the same amount of astral power as him, let alone an enemy. Not to mention that the Tianfang domain monarch would not let him go. Lin Jun would not let him go after the Tianfang domain monarch sent people to attack his family. With a roar, the spear spun and stabbed out like a dragon. If one could slow down Lin Jun's attack by 1,000 times, they would see a magical scene. The space rippled like water, rippling slightly where the tip of the spear passed, but no spatial cracks appeared. This was a phenomenon that would only happen when the speed exceeded sublight speed. If there were no ripples at all, it meant that the movement of the object had exceeded the speed of light, and it would no longer cause a spatial reaction. The Tianfang domain monarch blocked with his sword. After the sword and spear collided, a red dot appeared between his eyebrows. That was the injury caused by the spear. Lin Jun used the spear technique at sublight speed to accelerate time, and the spear almost took his life. With the first strike, Lin Jun lowered his body and quickly followed up like a ghost. His spear trembled continuously, and a series of spear lights burst out, covering all the vital points on the Tianfang domain monarch's body. Lin Jun knew that the battle with the Lord of Tianfang domain was not going to be easy. Taking the initiative was of utmost importance. The Tianfang domain monarch was also ruthless enough. Seeing Lin Jun's fierce spear technique, he actually made a decision at the first moment. He moved his body to avoid being hit at his vital points, allowing Lin Jun's spear to pierce through his shoulder. At the same time, he swept his sword horizontally across Lin Jun's chest. Lin Jun was able to injure the Tianfang domain monarch so easily, and immediately felt that things were not going well. This spear only pierced through half of the Tianfang domain monarch's shoulder before immediately retreating, and at the same time, slowing time. The Tianfang domain monarch's sword drew a string of blood from Lin Jun's chest. It was a superficial wound. They had just exchanged a blow, and both of them were injured at the same time. But at their level, they all had healing methods. This kind of injury was nothing at all. The two of them tangled together again. Both of them unleashed their astral power to the limit. Under such circumstances, force fields were useless, and they could only rely on their actual combat power. Lin Jun had many tricks up his sleeve, but the Tianfang domain monarch had even more. He even knew how to accelerate time. Tianfang, you bastard, you plotted against my family. Do you dare to fight to the death with me on this planet today? Whoever runs away first will never be able to improve. Lin Jun roared at the Tianfang domain monarch with bloodshot eyes. The Tianfang domain monarch also hated Lin Jun to the core. Lin Jun had killed Tianzi in front of him. This was a knot in his heart that had to be untied. Moreover, he did not know what kind of fortuitous encounter this kid had. He was able to fight against the Tianfang domain monarch before he even reached the nebulous stage. If Lin Jun broke through to the nebulous stage, the Tianfang domain monarch would not be able to survive. Therefore, now was the best chance to kill Lin Jun. Good. I, Tianfang domain monarch, swear on my martial arts heart that between you and me, only one of us can leave this planet alive. Either we win or we die. Awesome. That's what I think too. Whoever runs away is a coward. Come on, rumble. On the heavenly king planet, a fierce and unparalleled battle began. There were no spectators, only two experts who were risking their lives to kill each other. The airflow in the area was churning, and the dark clouds were spinning, unable to get close. The snow was drifting hundreds of kilometers away, unable to enter this Azura arena. This battle went on for a whole month. During this month, the two of them fought every corner of the Heavenly King planet, from the Eastern Hemisphere to the Western Hemisphere, from the Southern Hemisphere to the Northern Hemisphere. Sometimes they fought in space, and sometimes they fought in the depths of the Earth's core. Both of them fought with their lives on the line. During this time, Lin Jun was injured more than 6,000 times, and the Tianfeng Domain Monarch was injured nearly 6,000 times. Both of them were covered in wounds. Both of them had used almost all of their trump cards at least once, and they had a good understanding of each other's skills. Their astral powers were the same, and their skills were the same. Therefore, it was not easy for either of them to kill the other. But strictly speaking, Tianfeng Domain Monarch still had a slight advantage. After all, he was more than 1,000 years old. The salt he had eaten was more than the rice Lin Jun had eaten. Therefore, he had more combat experience. After a month of fighting, Tianfeng Domain Monarch believed that he would be the final victor if this continued for another month. But after a month, there were some changes in the battle. The Tianfeng Domain Monarch blocked Lin Jun's attack with one slash, and he could not help but shudder. He looked up and saw the cold wind howling in the sky. The cold current was rolling, and the temperature had dropped to negative 200 degrees. Winter had come on the Heavenly King planet. Chapter 590. In front of Tianfeng, Lin Jun's astral power had also dimmed a lot. Tianfeng was the same. They had the same amount of astral power, but after a month of consumption, there was less than a tenth of it left. They were like candles in the wind. Although there was a protective shield outside, it was starting to break down. The candles could be blown out by the wind at any time. On the Heavenly King planet, which was like hell on Earth, using up all of one's astral power was tantamount to death. If it were any other time, Tianfeng wouldn't have stayed to fight. But it was different now. Killing Lin Jun was very important. Besides, he and Lin Jun had both sworn on the heart of martial arts. Whoever left would never make any progress. He couldn't take the risk. Besides, Lin Jun looked even weaker than him. If he put in a little more effort, he might win. He released what little astral power he had left to fend off the cold wind. Then he launched another attack. The two men, who were on the verge of collapse, continued to fight for their lives. The last of their strength was consumed very quickly. 3 days later, the two figures separated from each other and fell to the ground. Lin Jun had been stabbed more than a dozen times. There were also several bloody holes in Tianfeng's body. Their astral power had become extremely weak. It was no longer enough to fend off the cold wind. The biting wind and snow once again enveloped the area. The king of Tianfeng territory forced himself to sit up. The astral power in his body was flickering. He looked at Lin Jun with a gloomy gaze. Lin Jun, you're dead meat. Although our astral powers are the same, your understanding and application of power is not as good as mine. For more than a month, your overall astral power consumption is greater than mine. Now I can still move in the cold wind. I can walk up to you and raise my saber. But you, what about you? I'm afraid that if you use any more astral power, you won't even have enough to protect yourself. You'll be frozen into a zombie. The more he spoke, the prouder he became. The king of Tianfeng territory laughed loudly. You may think that you're a genius, but being a genius isn't enough. You still need to have a brain. Otherwise, you can only take revenge in your next life, provided that you still have a next life to live. As he spoke, the lord of Tianfeng domain stood up shakily. He supported himself with his long saber and staggered toward Lin Jun. Lin Jun lay on the ground. The blood that flowed out of his body immediately froze into ice. However, he looked at Tianfeng with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Tianfeng, do you think that only astral power can withstand the cold of the Heavenly King planet? Tianfeng was stunned. Wrong. Other than astral power, there are also flames that can withstand the cold wind. Boom! A dark cyan flame suddenly erupted from Lin Jun's body. The powerful firepower instantly melted the ice around him. Then, the The cold outside was immediately offset by Lin Jun's firepower. Lin Jun himself was no longer affected by the cold. Lin Jun stood up with his long spear against the wind. He looked at Tian Fong, who was against the wind. Tian Fong, I can stand up now. If you have any skills, just use them. Your remaining astral power is only a little bit more than mine. Now that I have my firepower, I don't need to consume any astral power. Let's see who can last until the end. The king of Tianfang territory stood still. His expression kept changing. It was very interesting. He looked like he wanted to roar, but he also looked like he wanted to laugh. It was very strange. In the end, Tianfang suddenly laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Lin Jun, oh Lin Jun, your evil plan worked, didn't it? But you'll never know that your evil plan is so laughable in my eyes. It's not worth mentioning at all. Then, Tianfang suddenly became serious. You think you're the only one who has the power of flames? I'll teach you a lesson today. Never underestimate an expert of the territory king level. I've been watching you for a long time. How could I not know that you have the power of flames? I won't underestimate any enemy, no matter who they are, let alone the enemy who killed my son. Tianfang walked step by step towards Lin Jun. Suddenly, the power of flames rose from his body. It was the power of light cyan flames. Although it was not as strong as Lin Jun's, it was enough to block the cold wind. Lin Jun, my understanding of the power of flames is not bad. When you asked me to swear an oath here and fight to the death, I already thought of your path. The two of us were evenly matched. If we continued fighting, we could even fight for 1,000 days. You started using your brain at that time. You thought that in the end, you would still have the power of flames to block the cold wind. But when winter arrived on this planet, I, who had no flames, would naturally have to surrender. Ha ha ha. It's a pity that you'll never know that I also have the power of flames. It's just that I've never shown it in front of others. This is my secret. Lin Jun, remember this. Everyone has to have some trump cards and only use them at the most crucial moment. Only then can you win in one fell swoop. Lin Jun's face gradually turned pale. He did not expect Tianfang to be so scheming. You're finished. You're out of tricks. Ha ha ha. Lin Jun, don't try to use your flames to attack me. Your flames can only protect yourself here. It's all cold air here. Your flames are useless. Oh, right. Are you proficient in lightning, earth element, wood element, or the power of light? If you're proficient in it, I advise you not to use it to embarrass yourself. Because I know all these things that you know. Tianfang Territory King raised his hand. Several types of energy elements flashed, but they quickly disappeared under the attack of the cold air. Did you see that? This is the home ground of the ice and water elements. The other elements are useless here. Lin Jun, so in the end, what determines the outcome of the battle is still real combat power. Now that my star power is a little higher than yours, it's enough to determine whether we live or die. As he spoke, Tianfang Territory King strode toward Lin Jun. It was time to end the battle. In his opinion, all of Lin Jun's calculations were within his expectations. The reason why he agreed was just to beat Lin Jun at his own game. Lin Jun, this little fox, wanted to trick him, but he ended up being tricked by Tianfang Territory King. After taking a few steps forward, a horrifying scene appeared before them. Lin Jun raised his hand. A cloud of water vapor rose from his palm. In less than a second, it turned into an ice ball. That's the water element. Tianfang Territory King was stunned. He said in disbelief, "How can you have the water element when you have the fire element?" You don't have to understand this question. Existence is the truth. Tianfang, I'll teach you one last truth, and that is to never stand at a disadvantage, because other than the ice and water elements here, the wind element is also very abundant. Go to hell. Lin Jun suddenly roared. As he raised his hand, thousands of water vapor rose into the air and instantly turned into ice arrows. Blown by the strong wind, they shot toward Tianfang Territory King crazily. Puff, 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 puff. In the fierce wind, these ice arrows were 100 times faster than sniper bullets. They were like missiles bombarding Tianfang Territory King fiercely. Tianfang Territory King would have been able to destroy these ice arrows under normal circumstances. But now his strength was less than 1% of his peak. How could he continue to resist? At first, he could still wave his long saber to cut off the ice arrows, but the remaining star power was quickly consumed. He had no chance of winning this battle. He could not attack head-on, nor could he teleport. Because Lin Jun's mind power was stronger than his, he could interrupt his teleportation. Poor Tianfang Territory King. He was like a live target, struggling to hold on under the bombardment of countless ice arrows. I don't know if it was thousands or tens of thousands of ice arrows. Finally, an ice arrow managed to break through Tianfang's defense and pierce through his body. A string of blood solidified into red beads in the air and fell on the ice under his feet. Ugh! Puff! 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 Like bullets from a machine gun, bloody holes appeared out of nowhere. In an instant, the Tianfang Territory King's body was riddled with holes. When the last ice arrow was released, Lin Jun felt a wave of dizziness. He had used up too much energy, but it was all worth it. The Tianfang Domain Lord was like a hedgehog with ice arrows all over his body. Every acupoint and blood vessel of his was frozen. As the cold wind blew, his cells stopped dividing. All his vitality was quickly dissipating in the cold wind. Lin Jun supported himself with the power of the flame and moved step by step to Tianfang Territory King. Tianfang Territory King's last breath of star power and his unwillingness to give up supported his last breath. But he could only stare at Lin Jun. Completely ignoring Tianfang's venomous gaze, Lin Jun stood in front of him and said, Tianfang, don't overestimate your own intelligence. You may think that because you've lived for almost 1,000 years longer than me, you can see things clearer than I can. However, you may not believe that in reality, compared to me, you're just a younger brother. The Tianfang Territory King's eyelids twitched. He did not understand what Lin Jun meant. You don't understand, do you? Ha! You don't need to understand. I've looked into your information. You should be 1,120 years old this year. But you don't know that I have lived for more than 1,130 years. Lin Jun was right. He had lived for 1,000 years before his rebirth. After his rebirth, he had lived for more than 130 years. So strictly speaking, he was more than 10 years older than the Tianfang Territory King. The Tianfang Territory King still did not understand. He could see that Lin Jun was telling the truth, but he could not believe that Lin Jun was older than him. Before he could figure it out, a strong wave of fatigue hit him. His life's ambitions and ambitions disappeared along with this wave of fatigue. He closed his eyes. Endless darkness came. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The Tianfang Territory King died on the Heavenly King Planet. Chapter 591. The battle on Heavenly King Planet had completely resolved Lin Jun's worries. Now that the Tianfang Domain Monarch was dead, no one could threaten Lin Jun's family anymore. Now that the Domain Monarchs had all gone to Heavenly Gates, Lin Jun's family was already considered outstanding in the nebulous stage. They were not afraid of ordinary threats at all. Now that Tianfang was dead, Lin Jun definitely did not believe that any other Domain Monarch would be willing to avenge a dead person. It was as if a huge rock had been lifted from his heart, and Lin Jun felt relieved. It was not that no one knew about the battle on Heavenly King Planet. At least, it was still within the surveillance range of Lin Jun's interstellar radar. His family knew about this situation, but they would not come and cause trouble for Lin Jun at all. Now that Lin Jun had won, he immediately told his family this news. His family was very happy that they were finally safe. After killing Tianfang, Lin Jun returned to Earth and recuperated for 3 whole months. This period of time was the happiest and most worry-free time of Lin Jun's life. His family knew that Lin Jun was preparing to leave. However, as his family, they were already mentally prepared for this situation. To be able to stay at home for 100 years was already a lifetime for an ordinary person. His family was very content. Thus, for the first time in these 3 months, no one cultivated. Instead, they traveled between different star systems accompanied by Lin Jun. The new territories were huge, and there were many planets with beautiful scenery. Some places had advanced technology, some had advanced cultivation civilizations, and some were in the era of cold weapons. Staying in such places for a few days and looking at everything from God's point of view was also a different experience. On a planet called Kangwu, Lin Zhen's parents acted as heroes for a while and saved a prince who was about to be killed by the Empire's army. This prince escaped and returned to become the emperor. He ordered statues to be built in Lin Liye and Li Qin's likeness and worshipped day and night. Because to him, Lin Liye and Li Qin were gods. On a planet called Tianheng, a Tianshan sword duel conference was held. The experts of the martial arts world gathered. But in the end, the playful Lin Mei'er went to participate in the sword duel and defeated all the heroes of the world with one hand. The white-haired old swordsman and old swordsman on that planet all wanted to be Mei'er Lin's disciples. In the end, Mei'er Lin waved her hand and directly ascended into the sky, leaving everyone dumbfounded. From then on, there was a legend about the goddess on this planet. The goddess's martial arts and appearance were unparalleled in the world. Everyone who had seen the goddess's appearance was determined to pursue the peak of martial arts, hoping to see the goddess again one day. On a planet called Raccoon, a zombie crisis broke out. Lin Zhen took his two wives, the sisters Ling Er and Angel, and killed all the zombies in a day, completely saving the planet that was on the verge of collapse. From then on, the story of God and his 5 wives became an eternal classic on this planet. Later on, countless movies, TV series, songs, operas, and many other stories were born and passed down forever. Among them, the movie God Descends broke the record of $5 billion box office in 10 days and became a legend in Raccoon's film industry. The only thing that made people complain was that when it came to choosing actresses in the future, there was not a single qualified actress on this planet who could show the elegance of God's wives. Those 5 wives were indeed stunning beauties that did not belong to this world. 3 months later, Lin Zhen brought his family back to Earth. When his family was about to get off the spaceship, they all stopped when they saw that Lin Zhen was not ready to come down. "Son, Father doesn't have any great abilities in this life, but your mother and I are most proud of giving birth to a son like you. From this point of view, your father is the most successful person in this world because no matter how great your achievements are, you are still my son. Tell me, isn't your father very powerful? Hubby, Sister Ning and I are very lucky to be able to meet you and give birth to your children. These 100 years have already satisfied us. In the future, you can go on your adventures with peace of mind. We will always stay at home, accompany our parents, and take care of our children, and wait for the day when we can reunite with you. Father, Mei'er will definitely work hard in the future and strive to surpass Big Brother as soon as possible. I must achieve something. No matter if I can see Father in the future or not, Mei'er will pray for Father." Ling also stepped forward. "Brother, I'm sure you know what Sister Angel and I are thinking, but we don't ask for much. You don't have to worry about us. We don't have a home for a long time. After so many years, the Lin family is our home. We are happy to live here. We only hope that Big Brother will still remember that your family is here after you go to the primordial realm." Seeing the family standing in front of him with tears in their eyes, Lin Zhen was stunned for a moment. Then he said, "Do you all think that if I go to the primordial realm, I will never come back?" And Ning wiped her eyes. "Don't lie to us. We all know that the heavenly gates only open once every 10,000 years. If you leave, we will have to wait another 10,000 years if we want to go to the primordial realm. However, only a peak world king has a lifespan of 10,000 years. In addition to the 800 years that the heavenly gates are open, when the heavenly gates opens again, I'm afraid that our lifespan will be exhausted." Su Mingyue's tears also dripped down like beads. "You haven't cultivated for the past 3 months. Isn't it because you want to accompany us? Isn't this our farewell ceremony?" Li Qin was even more upset. "Son, I know that your goals are very high, but there are still more than 800 years before the heavenly gates close. Can't you accompany us for a little longer? Even if you don't accompany us for 300 or 500 years, even 100 years would be good enough. If you leave like this, our hearts will really—" Mei'er Lin, who was pretending to be strong, burst into tears. I still want to see Father again. I don't want Father to leave. Seeing the situation, Lin Jun suddenly had a headache. He hurriedly explained to his family, "You're all wrong. I'm leaving, but I didn't say that I'm never coming back." "Liar. How are you going to come back when the heavenly gates close?" Lin Jun then said, "I remember that for the past 100 years, I haven't told you about Feng Qingwan, mainly because I didn't want to make it awkward for everyone. Do you know how Feng Qingwan went to the primordial realm? It's because the primordial realm sells wormhole eggs. That thing can connect the barrier between the two realms. As long as I go to the primordial realm and earn some money, I can buy one. After I've completely gained a foothold and established myself there, I can use the wormhole egg to come back. Then I can bring you to the primordial realm." "Really?" And Ning asked in disbelief. "Of course it's true. I didn't tell you at that time because of Feng Qingwan. As time passed, I forgot about it. In the end, you misunderstood." Hearing Lin Jun's words, everyone in front of him heaved a long sigh of relief. "Brat, why didn't you tell us earlier? If you did, we wouldn't have to be so worried. I wasn't even in the mood to see injustice on the Kangwu planet." Lin Jun fumed and glared at Lin Jun. Li Qin was so angry that she hit Lin Jun a few times. "Look at how scared your mother, wife, and child are." His wife and child smiled through their tears. Their spirits were immediately different from before. Humans are like this. Regardless of whether they were high and mighty warriors or ordinary mortals, as long as there was hope in their hearts, everything would be sunny. Lin Jun's explanation was the best elixir in the world. It completely wiped away the dark clouds that shrouded the hearts of his family. Before boarding the spaceship, Lin Jun explained many things in detail and left behind 100 billion cosmos crystals. Lin Jun didn't know how long it would take for him to reach the heavenly gate, but since he had gone, he probably wouldn't be able to return in a short time. After passing the heavenly gate, returning would be a very distant matter. He had to make arrangements for his family. All the defense systems of the Sun territory had been replaced. Lin Jun also left the Eternium crystal battleship for his family so that they could leave safely at any time. Lin Jun was riding on Rahu's black battleship. It was also a top-grade battleship that wasn't any worse than the Eternium crystal battleship. The defense of his family was complete. It could be said that even if a world king expert invaded, his family would have enough time to escape. No one would be able to catch up to them. Moreover, before leaving, everyone could contact each other in the dimensional universe at any time. It wasn't that they couldn't meet each other. However, after going to the primordial realm, the dimensional universe wouldn't be able to communicate with the new territories. There would be a period of blank space. There was another matter. After Lin Jun's avatar transformed into armor, the galactic beast state was close to the peak of its infancy stage. However, it wasn't close yet. If it reached that stage, Lin Jun would let the galactic beast go to the Fire Qilin Empire's Qilin transformation pool and completely evolve into the Fire Qilin true body. At that time, Lin Jun's avatar strength would reach the level of a domain king. It wouldn't be a trash domain king like Tian Fong, but a true genius domain king. The black battleship ejected air and slowly lifted the spacecraft into the air. Lin Jun sat in front of the cabin door and looked at his family below, which was becoming smaller and smaller. His heart was also filled with sorrow. "Goodbye, Dad. Mayor and my brothers will miss you. Hubby, work hard in your cultivation. See you in the dimensional universe. Don't find too many sisters for us. Son, you must succeed. Mom and Dad will wait for you at home. Brother, if we go to the primordial realm, we will be with you forever." Looking at his family, waving their hands below, Lin Jun's spacecraft finally lifted off. After circling twice, it rapidly accelerated and rushed out of Earth's atmosphere. The temporary separation was for a better reunion in the future. When Lin Jun had enough power, he would definitely make the people around him happy forever. This was also the goal that had been supporting him all this time. Heavenly Gate, I'm coming. New territories, I'm coming. Whoosh. Chapter 592. Line up, line up. Everyone put some distance between us. The one in front, you're stepping on my foot. Are you blind? Hey, that's Stoneman. Can you lie down and cultivate? You're like a wall over there. We can't see what's going on in the heavenly gate. Usually, I thought there were very few high-level martial artists. But now that I'm here, I know that the universe lacks everything but people. It's so crowded. Yeah, I've been lining up here for over 100 years, and I've only gotten a chance to break through the heavenly gate once. Damn it. Those with connections always get a chance. Those like us who don't have a world king to take care of us are miserable. At a place 234,000 kilometers away from the Pillar of Life, the Black Hole Stage warriors were moving forward like worms. The gate of heaven that stood tall in the distance was so sacred in their eyes, yet so unreachable. For the past 100 years, in order to break through the heavenly gate, it could be said that the 8 immortals had crossed the sea and displayed their remarkable abilities. In the past, they were high and mighty, but now they were just ordinary people. This was because everyone around them was the same as them, and there were even people stronger than them everywhere. This was the situation where many people felt that there was no hope of breaking through in the past 100 years. If this was the beginning, the line here would stretch out for millions of kilometers. Moreover, it wasn't just one line, but many. Some people began to rack their brains, desperately trying to pull connections with the World King powerhouses and offering up the good things they had collected. If a World King powerhouse took a fancy to something, it was likely that they would help you once and bring you to their position to break through the heavenly gate. As a World King that occupied the front row, they could break through the heavenly gate every day. Some people even had the strength to break through the heavenly gate, but were unwilling to leave. They stayed here to collect benefits in order to prepare for the primordial realm. Many World Kings even set a price of 10 billion cosmos crystals per attempt. Most martial artists couldn't take out this amount of money. Only some martial artists could, but after breaking through the heavenly gate once, they discovered that it was almost unreachable. Those who weren't willing would return to cultivate. When they felt that their strength had greatly increased, they would try again. This cycle repeated over and over again. Those World Kings had people to bring along every day. They were simply making a fortune. Of course, the World Kings didn't occupy all the positions. There were a total of 100,000 positions around the heavenly gate, and 90,000 of them were occupied by powerful World Kings. The remaining 10,000 spots were prepared for the cultivators in the queue. These domain monarchs took up 6,000 spots and took turns to advance. Whoever reached a spot could attempt the challenge. If they failed, then if they still wanted to continue, they could only return to the back of the queue and start all over again. Those in the galactic stage took up 3,000 spots, while those in the black hole stage only took up 1,000 spots. It was impossible to calculate the number of black hole stage warriors in the entire universe. Therefore, the number of black hole stage warriors was the longest. There were 1,000 rows, and each row was overcrowded. Some people couldn't bear the pain of waiting in line, so they used their World King connections to send gifts. Once or twice was fine, but if it happened too many times, all of their savings would become someone else's. Those who had no money would give away their fiefs, vital planets, mineral planets, and even their wives to others. However, everyone here was a high-level warrior and had seen all kinds of scenes. Even if they found the most beautiful woman on a planet or even a galaxy, she probably wouldn't be worth much. Unless it was the most beautiful woman in an entire high-level civilization in the universe. Only then would some World Kings who were interested in this would fight over her. In order to challenge the heavenly gate, it was not difficult to be cuckolded and go bankrupt. There were even many who lost their lives. Even so, this long queue of more than 300,000 kilometers still proved how popular the heavenly gate was. The chance to pursue immortality was simply an irresistible temptation for warriors. One had to know that if you couldn't pass the heavenly gate this time, then you basically wouldn't have a chance to see the next heavenly gate. After 10,000 years, almost everyone who couldn't pass would die. Of course, there was another way to advance quickly, and that was to challenge the person in front of you in line. As long as you defeated the person in front, you could advance by one position. However, you couldn't challenge someone in front of you, or you would be attacked by a group. It was said that when the heavenly gate had just appeared, a great god of the primordial realm named Moonchaser had said this rule. The primordial realm was the realm above the world king. Only by reaching this step could one break free from the limits of one's lifespan. Their inner world would be stable, and they would no longer have to worry about aging and dying. Unless you committed suicide or were killed, you could live forever. When Moonchaser appeared and announced the rules, the World King powerhouses were fighting over positions. When they saw this person, a group of World Kings refused to accept it and attacked him together. In the end, Moonchaser's divine pressure killed more than 30 World Kings on the spot. Each one of them was a tyrannical powerhouse, intimidating the crowd. From then on, the rules of the Heavenly Gate were set. The arrival of Lin Jun's flying ship did not cause any commotion. The moment Lin Jun stepped out of the flying ship, he could really smell the strong smell of alcohol. The wine-red nebula really lives up to its reputation. The ground beneath his feet was not solid, but rather a void with a faint mist. Only those who had reached the black hole stage, whose body's astral powers had formed an endless cycle, could stay here for a long time. This was also one of the reasons why there were no star stage cultivators here. He stepped forward and arrived behind a row of black hole realm martial artists. In front of him was a black-clothed warrior with a single horn on his head. Besides the horn on his head, the one-horned race didn't look much different from other humans. Newcomer, the man looked back at Lin Jun. Yes, I just arrived. Galactic beast race? This person's eyes were quite sharp. He sized up Lin Jun and saw that Lin Jun had a galactic beast bloodline. Yes, I'm from the Galactic Beast Alliance. Then you'd better not stay here anymore. Go to the Galactic Beast Alliance. Over there are birds, beasts, aquatic beasts, and scale beasts. The number of people there is also much less than here. Oh, thank you. Lin Jun expressed his gratitude to the one-horned race martial artist. He looked around and soon found the Galactic Beast Alliance's team. There were 5 teams: beasts, birds, scaled beasts, aquatic, and furry. Lin Jun was a fire-chilling black hole beast. Naturally, he had to go to the beast team. At this point, Lin Jun frowned. From his angle, the team stretched to the end of his sight. Compared to the birds and scale beast teams, the beast team was ridiculously long. A simple calculation showed that the team was about 200,000 kilometers long. If Lin Jun lined up one by one, he would have to line up here for at least a few decades or even a few centuries. It seems that I can only challenge them all the way. This is a black hole realm team. It should be easy for me to challenge them. Lin Jun walked to the back of the team. Before he could challenge them, the Dimensional Universe's communication device rang. It was Han Sha from the Galactic Beast Alliance. Hey, Brother Han Sha. Long time no see. Yes, Brother Lin Jun. It's been more than 100 years. How are you? Pretty good. I eat well, sleep well, and I'm in good health. Everything is good. Ha! Well, that's good. Brother Lin, have you come to the Heavenly Gates? I just arrived. How did you know? It's simple. I searched for my friends in the Dimensional Universe and found you. You're now behind the Galactic Beast Alliance's team, right? That's right. I'm at the back. I don't know how many years it will take for me to challenge the Heavenly Gates. I'm preparing to challenge them. Don't challenge them. Come to the front. I'm about 300 meters ahead. Come here. I'll introduce some people to you. With their help, you won't have to line up or challenge them. Lin Jun immediately agreed. If he could avoid challenges, he was unwilling to do so. These people might enter the primordial realm in the future. If he challenged them now, it was very likely that he would become enemies in the future. Lin Jun walked along the line. Along the way, it was an eye-opener for Lin Jun. The Galactic Beast team was the most bizarre. Some of them were unwilling to show themselves in human form. To many warriors, having the Galactic Beast bloodline was an honor and something worth showing off. They would even maintain their Galactic Beast form during normal times. After walking past this beast team, Lin Jun had the illusion that he had entered a rare zoo. Roar, roar. Another guy who got in through the back door. Shameless. A huge saber-toothed tiger spoke human language and complained to Lin Jun, who was passing by. Gutless brat. Challenge me if you can. I can't stand people like you who get in through connections. You're the scum of the warriors. A two-headed demonic wolf spoke with a fiery temper. Come on, gutless bandit. I'm going to crush your balls. A strong white ape broke a stick with his knee and demonstrated to Lin Jun. Brother, brother, what are you looking for? Can you bring me over to take a look? I can be your girlfriend. A beautiful red fox wagged her tail and winked at Lin Jun. Lin Jun had no choice but to speed up and shake off all the harassers. Soon, he reached the front of the team. Brother Lin, over here. Seeing that the heavenly gate was right in front of him, Lin Jun finally heard voices. In the crowd, he saw Han Sha. Han Sha's realm was also at the peak of the black hole realm. It was not that easy to enter the nebulous stage. People like Lin Jun's family were still very rare. After all, with the help of someone as strong as Lin Jun, they would have too many advantages over others. Lin Jun lamented a little. Han Sha, who had been so glorious in the past, now looked a little down and out. At the very least, his strength was insignificant in this vast, great cosmos. Chapter 593. Brother, I haven't seen you in so many years, and I haven't heard from you. If you hadn't contacted me today, I would have forgotten that I'm still a member of the Galactic Beast Alliance. Where have you been? Han Sha sighed. Sigh. It's a long story. Back then, when I discovered talent like you, I was considered to have made a contribution. Later on, I was transferred to another high-level civilization in the universe, the Wizard Empire. I was considered to have been promoted, but unfortunately, I was suppressed when I got there. After that, my days were a little difficult. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be in a black hole after 100 years. Lin Jun did not know how to comfort him. With Han Sha's current state, it was probably impossible for him to pass the divine gate. However, humans are like that. They had to try their best to grasp the glimmer of hope. Otherwise, they would have no chance at all. What happened after that? God still cared for me. Later, I met their prince in the Wizard Empire and stimulated his galactic beast bloodline. Coincidentally, this prince was the same as you, with the bloodline of the Fire Qilin. Oh, there's another Fire Qilin? Hee, there's more than one. The vast universe has infinite possibilities. In the galactic beast race, the Fire Qilin is a branch. There are also ink Qilins, jade Qilins, water Qilins, and so on. I know about 60 to 70 of them, and this is just a black hole stage. There are also those in the galactic and star domain stages. At this point, Han Sha quietly approached Lin Jun's ear. However, I feel that your black hole beast avatar is the rarest. You will definitely be able to go to the primordial realm. Lin Jun never doubted that he could go to the primordial realm. In the black hole stage, if he, Lin Jun, was not qualified to go to the primordial realm, he believed that no one else was. Brother, you have to fight to go to the primordial realm too. Brother, you don't have to say that. I'm very clear on my own abilities. I won't be able to cross the primordial realm in such a short time. My only hope now is that Ku Xiangnan can use the wormhole egg to bring us over after he enters the primordial realm. Who's Ku Xiangnan? You also know about wormhole eggs? Ku Xiangnan is the prince whose bloodline was stimulated by me. He thinks that it won't be a problem for him to enter the primordial realm. As for the wormhole egg, it has long been recorded. After all, this isn't the first time that the heavenly gate has opened. It has opened countless times over the years. Too many warriors have entered the primordial realm, and many have returned from there. As long as your bank account has the right level, you can look up some information about the primordial realm. Lin Jun nodded. No matter how well hidden the primordial realm was, it was impossible to hide it from everyone. If the Realm Kings knew about it, then the Realm Kings' families would definitely know about it as well. Some martial artists with status would most likely know about it. Then why are you standing here, brother? I'm lining up for Ku Xiangnan. Brother, you can see that there are so many people here. In fact, quite a number of them are lining up for others. Because the queue time is too long, and they have to move forward frequently, they can't even concentrate on their cultivation. Therefore, there are people lining up for others. For example, people like me who have no hope of passing through the heavenly gate have stayed here to line up for others. This way, when Ku Xiangnan reaches the primordial realm, he will naturally remember my kindness. He might even bring me over. He promised me. Lin Jun was a little speechless. He felt that Han Sha's hopes were a little unreliable. In Lin Jun's opinion, Wormhole eggs were definitely very, very expensive. Even a prince from a high-leveled civilization would probably be nothing in the primordial realm. He really couldn't guarantee that he would be able to bring Han Sha over. The reason why I called you over is actually because of this spot. Kush Xiaonan himself doesn't need this spot because he has his father with him. His father is one of the Kais in the front row, so he can go over at any time. He has dozens of people like me who are lining up here. When it's our turn, he will sell the spot and make a lot of money. Lin Jun was stunned for a moment, but then he understood. It was very normal for a prince from a high-leveled civilization to find some warriors to line up. Most of the people in the queue were probably like this. There are more than 300 people in front of me. When it's my turn, he will give this spot away or sell it. I'll take you to Kushiangnan now and ask him to give his spot to you. I think he will still give me this bit of face. Lin Jun looked at the long queue and hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. He didn't want to do this through Han Sha. This way, Han Sha would have to bear a big favor for him. As a warrior, Lin Jun didn't like to owe others. It would make him worry. Lin Jun also felt that Ku Xiangnan was a fire Qilin, so there might be some competition between the two of them. Lin Jun had read a lot of information about the primordial realm. Although most of it was just hearsay, there were still many things that could be taken as a reference. It was said that the Galactic Beast Alliance in the primordial realm wasn't a monolithic entity, but a huge family clan. Take the Qilin clan, for example. There weren't just fire Qilins, but also ink Qilins, jade Qilins, water Qilins, and many other branches. Inside each family, there was an elder. The entire Qilin clan was led by a patriarch. Warriors who went to the new territories would naturally join these families. The results of the Heavenly Gate Challenge would directly determine one's position in the family. There is a saying that people of the same trade were enemies because they were competitors. Fire Qilins would definitely be competitors, and direct competitors at that. Even if Ku Xiangnan gave Han Sha face, he wouldn't wholeheartedly help him. He smiled to Han Sha. Brother Han Sha, I appreciate this, but you don't have to worry about me. I'll find a way to challenge the Heavenly Gate myself. At worst, I'll just line up. It just so happens that I want to cultivate. Han Sha didn't expect Lin Jun to reject him. He was stunned. Have you thought about it? Once you line up here, you'll have to wait for decades, or even centuries. It's okay. There must be a path in front of the mountain. I'll just walk around on my own. All right then. If you change your mind, come find me at any time. Okay, bye-bye. Lin Jun waved at Han Sha and left. Cutting in line was absolutely not allowed here, unless you spent money to buy a seat in the first row from the Kai. Lin Jun was new here, so he wasn't in a hurry. He walked back along the line. Lin Jun had just taken a few steps when a skinny martial artist with the head of a snake and the eyes of a rat suddenly stopped him. Brother, please wait. Lin Jun looked back. This person was also from a galactic beast race. He should be a rodent, but he didn't know what race he was. After all, he couldn't possibly know all the galactic beasts. What's the matter? You want to challenge the Heavenly Gate, right? The skinny warrior came to Lin Jun's side. His voice wasn't loud, as if he was talking about some secret. Of course, I think that every warrior here wants to challenge the Heavenly Gate. That's a coincidence. Brother, give me the money and I'll help you with this matter. Lin Jun smiled. There were so many Kai in the front row. The price of 10 billion cosmos crystals was clearly marked. If he wanted to spend money, why would he need to find him? Lin Jun now had 100 billion cosmos crystals, but 90 billion of them were to ensure that the 9-star supremacy account wouldn't drop in level. He couldn't use them casually. Last time, in order to revive the small phoenix, Lin Jun had spent double the amount to upgrade his bank card. If he spent it again, he would have to double the amount next time. Lin Jun didn't want to do it again. Therefore, he could only use 10 billion, which meant that he could only challenge the Heavenly Gate once. Therefore, Lin Jun was somewhat hesitant. He didn't want to take the risk. The skinny warrior hurriedly waved his hand. You must have misunderstood. If the fee was 10 billion, I wouldn't have come here to embarrass myself. My fee is cheap. Cheap? How cheap can it be? The martial artist stretched out 2 hands, each with 3 fingers. 6 billion? Lin Jun felt that this price wasn't too good. He could only challenge the Heavenly Gate once. If he couldn't pass it the first time, he wouldn't have enough money for the second time. No, no, no. 3 billion. 3 billion is your fee, and 3 billion is my commission. How about it? You didn't expect this price, right? If you have 10 billion, then it's enough for you to challenge the heavenly gate 3 times. Think about it. Why is it so cheap? Lin Jin asked. You don't know. The heavenly gate has already been open for 100 years. Most of the martial artists who thought they had no hope have already left. If they can't pass the heavenly gate, then they might as well go back and enjoy their lives. There are far fewer people than there were at the beginning. With fewer people, business isn't easy. Although those world kings are still shouting out 10 billion, there isn't much business left. Did they lower the price? You can say that. It's just that everyone agreed on 10 billion. No one can openly lower the price, but many people have done so in secret. However, I can guarantee that 3 billion is a unique price. If you were to change places, you would have to pay at least 5 billion or 6 billion. If you miss this opportunity, you won't be able to find it again. Lin Jun felt that if this was true, then he really could consider it. If I give you 3 billion, can I immediately challenge the heavenly gate? More or less. Not immediately. You might have to wait a few hours. There's still many people in front of you in line. However, you don't need to give me 3 billion. Give me 300 million, and I will take you there. Then, you can give the world king 3 billion. As this person said this, Lin Jun felt relieved. If he said that it was immediately, then it might be false. Instead, this was more reasonable. He simply gave the martial artist 300 million. Take me there. I want to give it a try. Great. Great. You can rest assured that you won't have to wait too long. There are only 3 or 4 people in front of you. It will be your turn in less than 2 hours. The thin and weak-looking martial artist introduced them all the way to the first row. There were 10,000 seats in the first row. He came to the leftmost seat. This place was relatively secluded and there were fewer people. This was because no one would line up behind a world king. A white-haired old man sat there with 3 martial artists behind him. Senior, I have brought you another person to challenge the heavenly gate. Good job. Go. Okay. The thin martial artist waved his hand and quickly ran away. Lin Jun consciously lined up at the back of the line, waiting for his turn to challenge the heavenly gate. Chapter 594. There were 3 people in front of Lin Jun, 1 man and 2 women. Including Lin Jun, there were 4 people. There was probably another person in front of them. These people were all waiting. 2 of the 3 people were in the nebulous stage. One of the short-haired men was in the level 9 nebulous stage. He seemed to be quite strong, at least at the level of 5th ghost. His star power was above 15,000. There were 2 other women, and they were quite good-looking. One of them was in the black hole stage. She was leaning against the short-haired man. They seemed to be a couple. This woman's star power was also good, about 2,000. It should be known that a black hole stage martial artist with 2,000 star power was very strong. The average nebulous stage martial artist star power was less than 1,000. This woman could be considered a genius. The other woman was in the nebulous stage. Her star power was more than 10,000, which was equivalent to a mysterious general. She was very good-looking. Even compared to you, and in Ning, she was not much worse. On an ordinary life planet, she could be called the number 1 beauty. After seeing Lin Jun's arrival, several people's eyes fell on Lin Jun. Oh, there's a handsome guy. The nebulous stage beauty smiled. Her smile was very charming, which made the black hole stage beauty next to her a little dim. Lin Jun's appearance was definitely top-notch. Most men were not as handsome as Lin Jun. Moreover, it was basically possible to tell the real age of martial artists. Lin Jun was more than 100 years old. He was definitely very young here. The short-haired man holding the black hole stage beauty sneered. Zhuling Shan, why are you so shallow? You only know how to look at appearance. Can being handsome be eaten? Is being handsome also a kind of strength? For men, strength is the most important thing. If you look at the face, many female martial artists keep pretty boys who are not worse than him. Why don't you find one? Sun Liang, is there a hole in your brain? What does it have to do with you that I praise others for being handsome? You are jealous. I'm jealous of him, my ass. This kind of black hole stage rookie, I can kill him with 1 finger. Do I need to be jealous? Don't talk about me. Even my family's little Dai is stronger than him. She's your little sister. You can't deny it, right? Look at this newcomer. He's so secretive that he doesn't even want to reveal his star power. He must be afraid that others will laugh at him. What can such a person do? Do I have to rely on my face to make a living, or do I have to use my credit card? I can only fool a love-struck woman like you. The girl called Xiao Dai also giggled. She glanced at Lin Jun and then arrogantly turned her gaze away. Zhu Lingshan snorted. Sun Liang, I know what you mean. You didn't succeed in pursuing me, so you deliberately found this woman who I don't like to disgust me. What kind of sister is she? At this time, the girl called Xiao Dai said in a coquettish voice, Sister, we are sisters of the same father but different mothers. How can you speak like that? It really hurts your little sister's heart. If you are jealous, then you might as well marry Sun Liang. The two of us can imitate a Huang in vying and serve the same husband. I won't disdain you. Zhu Lingshan pointed at Zhu Xiao Dai angrily. Don't talk to me. If I knew you would follow me, I wouldn't come here to be bullied. I'd rather spend 10 billion to go somewhere else. Seeing that Zhu Lingshan's state was not good, Sun Liang and Zhu Xiao Dai's eyes showed a trace of success. Lin Jun saw clearly that these two people deliberately annoyed Zhu Lingshan and deliberately made her feel uncomfortable. Then she would definitely not perform well when breaking through the divine gate. Lin Jun had a good impression of this woman. She was real and not pretentious. What's more, she also spoke for him. Lin Jun didn't mind helping her at this time. Sister, calm down. Don't fall into others' trap. His words woke Zhu Lingshan from her reverie, and she immediately woke up. Little brother, you are right. I can't do that kind of thing. Otherwise, others will see me as a joke. Seeing that Zhu Lingshan calmed down quickly, Sun Liang and Zhu Xiao Dai were a little annoyed. Brat, don't get involved in other people's affairs. Didn't your mother teach you this truth? Lin Jun smiled. My mother taught me a lot, but the most profound thing I remember is that when you meet a guy with a mouth full of shit, don't be polite. When you need to fight, fight. Bastard, I think you are looking for death, Sun Liang said and couldn't control himself. In his opinion, Lin Jun, an ant in the black hole stage, dared to challenge him like this. This was absolutely intolerable. As he spoke, he seemed to want to fight. The white-haired old man in front suddenly turned back. If you want to be reckless here, I can make you disappear immediately. When King Kai spoke, Sun Liang suddenly deflated. His face was red with anger. He pointed at Lin Jun and Zhu Lingshan. Okay. Today, I won't argue with you. Let's see who is better in the Elysium. Let's see who has better results. Zhu Lingshan, I will compete with you. Xiao Dai, that brat is also in the black hole stage. Do you have the confidence to crush him? Zhu Xiao Dai looked at Lin Jun disdainfully. An embroidered pillow, not worth mentioning. Zhu Lingshan, do you dare try? The loser will have one hand cut off. Looking at Sun Liang and Zhu Xiao Dai, Zhu Lingshan didn't say anything. She was not as good as Sun Liang. She estimated that Lin Jun was not as good as Zhu Xiao Dai. Her sister was very strong in the black hole stage. She wouldn't be tricked. But the grievance in her heart was inevitable. Ouch! My omnipotent sister, who has been on top of me since I was a child, is scared. Brother Liang, this is really strange. Zhu Xiao Dai laughed, and her face looked a little sharp and mean. Zhu Lingshan tightly pursed her lips and didn't speak. Her towering chest moved up and down. She was obviously angry. If she hadn't paid the money, she really wanted to leave immediately. At this time, Lin Jun suddenly said, Let's do it. Let's do it in pairs, right? Yes. Why? Do you really want to do it? Of course we want to do it. The loser will choose one person to cut off their arm. Do you dare? Ha ha ha. Okay, I want to see. If your side loses, will it be you or Zhu Lingshan who will cut off their arm? Sun Liang was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed and agreed. In his opinion, this new kid was a bit stupid. They already had the victory in their hands, but he still wanted to stand out. He probably had some healing elixirs in his hand. Even if the arm was cut off, it could grow back. As for the purpose, it was very clear. He saw that Zhu Lingshan was beautiful, so he wanted to take this opportunity to pick up girls. This kind of trick was played by him too many times. As for the possibility that Lin Jun might be very strong, he didn't believe it at all because his common sense told him that the martial artists in the black hole stage were trash. But he also added, but when the arm is cut off, you can't cut it yourself. The other party's people have to do it. Okay, it's settled. If we lose, I will cut off my arm. If you lose, choose one person for me to cut off. Deal. Hearing this, Zhu Lingshan's face changed. Don't be impulsive. Don't worry, big sister. My broken arm can be regenerated. Lin Jun winked at Zhu Lingshan with a confident look on her face. Zhu Lingshan sighed and didn't want to say anything more, but she secretly made up her mind. Even if she really lost, she would cut off her own arm. Her arm could be regenerated. This was not a big deal, but she didn't want to owe anyone. Just now, she saw that Lin Jun was really handsome, but now it seemed that he was too reckless. The guy on the other side didn't care about them at all, as long as there was money to be earned. The bet was established. After a while, the person who broke through the gate of heaven came back and left without saying a word. Obviously, the result was not ideal. This person came back, and the next one was Zhu Lingshan. Zhu Xiaodai smiled and said, "Please, sister, we just came here not long ago. It's our first time breaking through the gate of heaven. You have to perform well. Don't lose your confidence in the first time." Zhu Lingshan ignored her and walked over to the gate of heaven. The few of them watched Zhu Lingshan's back as she walked out gracefully. Although she was in a corner, she still attracted a lot of attention. After all, beautiful women still attracted attention. Below the gate of heaven, there were impact points left by the gods of the primordial realm. From here to the sky, there was even a clear distance. From the root of the pillar of life to the top of the gate of heaven, it was exactly 1,000,000 kilometers, not even a millimeter off. Looking up from below, the sky was dark and deep. The deepest place was the primordial realm that everyone yearned for. The Dimensional Universe Corporation set up a screen at every ascending point, which could clearly record the situation of the warriors breaking through the gate of heaven. From the ground to the highest point, it allowed people to see their progress from the bottom. Look, this girl is not bad. She's really hot. Yeah, our hometown doesn't have such a pretty girl. It's just that it's too far away, so I don't know how strong she is. Ordinary people who are pretty often don't have strength because they are used to relying on their looks. But if warriors who are pretty often have strength, it proves that they don't rely on their looks. That makes sense. That's why I'm so strong. Get lost. You're too ugly. If you don't work hard, you won't have a future. Everyone was discussing. Their eyes were focused on the screen on the left, watching Zhu Lingshan's progress. Zhu Lingshan took a deep breath, then leaped up. Her slim figure rose into the sky rapidly, her speed already a few thousand times the speed of sound. 100 kilometers, 300 kilometers, 500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. From Lin Jun's point of view, Zhu Lingshan's speed was quite fast, but many warriors in other positions shook their heads slightly. It was hopeless. Looking at her speed, it was impossible for her to exceed 100,000 kilometers, which meant that she did not even reach 1/10 of the impact. After all, they had been here for a long time and had seen too many people break through. They could roughly analyze it at a glance. Sure enough, Zhu Lingshan slowed down after reaching 20,000 kilometers. 30,000 kilometers was already very strenuous. At 40,000 kilometers, she had almost no astral power to support her. In the end, she gave it her all. Her clothes were drenched in sweat, wrapping around her exquisite body and revealing her curves. But even so, her final progress was only 50,000 kilometers, and then she failed. 1/20th of the progress. This was Zhu Lingshan's final result. Chapter 595. Zhu Lingshan's body fell from the sky to the ground. After landing, her body staggered, and her eyes were obviously very disappointed. She knew that she couldn't pass on her first try, but she wanted to test to see how big the gap was. However, she didn't expect the gap to be so big. This was simply a blow to her confidence, not to mention that she would have to face the ridicule of Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai when she returned. She walked back slowly, and sure enough, Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai laughed. Sister, did you perform abnormally? Is this still my omnipotent sister? Tell me, with your level, aren't you just disgracing our family by coming here? Before Zhu Lingshan could say anything, Lin Jun said impatiently from behind, "Can you two hurry up? Maybe your results are not as good as hers. What's there to show off? Okay. Today, I'll let you see my true strength so that you won't be so stubborn when your arm is cut off." Sun Liang walked out and stepped in front of the divine gate. However, he wouldn't attract any attention. A nebula with over 10,000 star power was too common and ordinary here. Sun Liang didn't care what others thought. He unleashed his star power and charged up with all his strength. His strength was indeed stronger than Zhu Lingshan's. Plus, he was in a good mood at the moment, so he performed well. The final distance of the sprint reached 90,000 kilometers. There was an unwritten rule here. Whenever a warrior charged more than 100,000 kilometers, people would applaud and cheer for him to show respect and encouragement. Sun Liang was good, but not to the extent that people applauded. After returning from the divine gate, although he was tired, his face was full of excitement. "Did you see that? This is my first time charging, and I've completed nearly 10%. I still have a long time to cultivate. Next time, it will be 20% and 50% until I reach the primordial realm. Brother Liang, you're awesome. Xiaodai loves you." Zhu Xiaodai even went over and acted coquettishly, which made Lin Jun frown. "Xiaodai, it's your turn next. Remember to stay calm. We're now 40,000 kilometers ahead. As long as you perform as usual, we'll definitely win. When it's time to kill someone, you'll be the one to attack. Okay, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." As Zhu Xiaodai spoke, she glared fiercely at her somewhat despondent sister before walking towards the gate of heaven. She didn't attract much attention. Although she was considered a beauty, she was far inferior to Zhu Lingshan. Moreover, it was difficult for a black hole in one to attract attention. Although it was said that the black hole stage had less pressure, the strength of the black hole stage was still weak. The Elysium had been open for more than 100 years. Although not many people had passed the nebulous stage, it was still quite a number. On the other hand, no one had successfully passed the Elysium in the black hole stage. Perhaps some of the black hole stage experts didn't have the confidence to make a move, but this also proved the difficulty of breaking through to the black hole stage. Zhu Xiaodai began to work hard. Lin Jun believed that Zhu Xiaodia's black hole stage 2,000 star power was quite a lot. Although it was said that the heavenly gate became more difficult as one progressed, she should be able to reach at least 5%. But he didn't expect that Zhu Xiaodai would fall after reaching 5%. What a difficult black hole stage. 2,000 star power can only reach this far. I'm afraid I'm not very sure if I can reach the top. After Zhu Xiaodai came back, she wasn't depressed. Instead, she was quite happy. Sun Liang even congratulated her. "Well done, Xiaodai. I saw that many black hole stage people didn't even reach 1% before falling. You're already very good. We didn't expect to pass the black hole stage. After you stabilize for a few days, we'll break through to the nebulous stage." After that, Sun Liang faced Lin Jun. "Kid, now we're 7% ahead of you. If you can reach 8%, you win." Lin Jun nodded and was about to walk over. At this time, Zhu Lingshan suddenly raised her head and reached out to grab Lin Jun. "Little brother, I know you have good intentions, but forget it. This is our family matter. Don't get involved. If you cut off my arm, you can quit." Lin Jun said seriously, "How can I do that? My mother told me since I was a child that a man's words carry weight. I promised to bet. How can I go back on my words? That's not my style. You're a blockhead. Alas. Forget it, you can go. But if you lose, you have to listen to me. After all, this is my business. I'm very sorry. The word lose has never been in my dictionary. I want to win, and I want to win beautifully." After he finished speaking, Lin Jun strode towards the gate of heaven. Sun Liang looked at Lin Jun's back and snorted. "Zhu Lingshan, this is your vision. How can you think that this idiot is handsome? Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. You should consider Xiaodie's previous proposal. If you can change your mind and follow me, I can let bygones be bygones. Stop dreaming. I won't be with a scumbag like you even if I die. It's nothing more than an arm. It's not like it can't grow back. Haha, good, well said. See you later. Sun Liang flew into a rage out of humiliation. He walked to one side and prepared his sword. There was poison on his sword that could inhibit the regeneration of the body. This was also the reason why he suggested to let the other party cut his arm. Since Zhu Lingshan was so stubborn, then she shouldn't blame him for being ruthless. Lin Jun came to the impact point and stood still. He was indeed a handsome guy. Seeing that another person was about to break through the divine gate, the surrounding people looked up. However, when they saw Lin Jun's realm, many of them gave up immediately. It's useless. Even a black hole stage cultivator is trying to break through. Doesn't he know how difficult it is to find out about the divine gate? I bet 1 million universe crystals that he can't break through the height of 100,000 kilometers. Haha, trying to cheat money again? How many black hole stage cultivators can break through the height of 100,000 kilometers? It's possible to break through the height of a few hundred or a few thousand kilometers before falling down. Disperse, disperse. It's better to cultivate. Lin Jun turned a deaf ear to the surrounding gossip. After standing properly, he looked around. He wasn't the only one trying to break through. There were 10,000 front rows and 10,000 ascending points. Every martial artist was like a gun salute, shooting up into the sky with a whoosh. However, most of them fell down very quickly. Some rose a little higher. Every time someone exceeded the distance of 100,000 kilometers, there would be intense applause from below, cheering them on. Just as Lin Jun was about to set off, there was a fluctuation in the dimensional universe. Someone had directly connected to Lin Jun's dimensional universe. Lin Jun was shocked. Someone was able to connect to him without his permission. This was the first time such a situation had happened. An elegant middle-aged man appeared in the image. He held a white paper fan in his hand and looked at Lin Jun with a smile. Welcome, young man. Welcome to the Heavenly Gate. I'm the Primordial Realm's Heavenly Gate Guardian, Moon Chaser. You can't use teleportation here. You have to rely on your own strength to charge up. As long as you can break through the 1,000,000-kilometer Heavenly Gate, I'll be waiting for you at the top of the Heavenly Gate. An immortal stage martial artist. Lin Jun had seen countless news regarding Moon Chaser in the dimensional universe. Every person who broke through the Heavenly Gate Guardian would see his image. He didn't expect him to appear in such a manner. His appearance greatly encouraged the other martial artists. He was a living immortal stage martial artist. Furthermore, when Lin Jun arrived, he noticed that there were hundreds of people trying to break through the Heavenly Gate at this time. Could he communicate with hundreds of people at the same time? How strong would his spiritual power be? At this moment, Lin Jun's lofty aspirations were aroused. Immortal stage. That was his goal. After taking a deep breath, Lin Jun's star power rose. Lin Jun's current star power was 70,000. His clone star power was 65,000. After transferring his star power, it would be 135,000. With such a strong star power as a foundation, Lin Jun had enough reason to believe that he could charge up in one go. This was the power of a domain monarch. No matter how difficult the Heavenly Gate was, it couldn't be set to require the strength of a domain monarch to pass through. He squatted down slightly and made a jumping posture on the spot. Go! Swoosh! Lin Jun shot into the sky like a cannonball. The wind howled in his ears. Lin Jun almost instantly soared by 10,000 kilometers. The heavy pressure above his head pressed down. There was no way to teleport here. If he wanted to continue moving up, he could only rely on his star power to resist. This was the only standard to test a martial artist's strength. However, this kind of pressure was nothing to Lin Jun. Star power flickered on his body. Lin Jun seemed to have a booster under his feet. His charging momentum was extremely fast. 13,000, 15,000, 18,000, 20,000, 23,000, 25,000, 28,000, 30,000. Lin Jun had easily surpassed Zhu Xiaodia's charging record, but he had no intention of stopping. This level of difficulty was nothing to him. He didn't even feel strained. He thought that no one was paying attention to him. In fact, there were some people who knew Lin Jun. In addition, he was handsome. So many people were paying attention to him. However, most of them were just watching at the start. Now, they couldn't stay calm. Oh, F***CK. Who the F***CK is this? What the F***CK? This is too fast. This kid is fierce. It's sublight speed charging. Is this still the black hole stage? Oldly pinch me. I'm not dreaming, am I? Oh no, oh no. This kid is going to break the record. The highest charging record in the black hole stage this time is a little over 500,000 kilometers. Is he going to break it? Almost at the same time, Lin Jun had already charged past the 50,000 kilometer mark. His speed didn't slow down at all. He was charging towards 100,000 kilometers. Chapter 596. At this moment, Lin Jun really felt the thrill of breaking through all obstacles and pressing forward with indomitable will. The pressure above his head seemed so insignificant to him. This 100,000 kilometers was really a piece of cake for him. 70,000, 75,000, 80,000 kilometers. At this time, Lin Jun and Zhu Lingshan's results had already surpassed Sun Liang's and Zhu Xiaodia's results. He had already won this bet. However, Lin Jun's goal was never to win a bet. That was just something he did when he was bored. He just wanted to help Zhu Lingshan along the way. He wanted to try and see if he could break through the heavenly gate on his first try and go straight to the primordial realm. His main body had 70,000 star power, and his doppelganger had 65,000 star power. He hadn't used star power transfer yet. If he used it, he felt that he should have a chance. Therefore, he didn't hold back at all. He used all his star power to charge forward rapidly. Under the heavenly gate, Zhu Lingshan covered her mouth in disbelief. She thought that she would definitely lose the bet, but because of Lin Jun's performance, the tables had turned. Moreover, it was a super big reversal. With this person's charging speed, it was really unknown how far he could go. Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodia's faces were ashen. They didn't expect Lin Jun to be a super expert, even in their dreams. However, they couldn't understand why such a big shot would be so bored to tease them. Was Zhu Lingshan's charm that great? Could she make such a person submit? Zhu Xiaodai looked at Zhu Lingshan with even more jealousy. She looked at Lin Jun and then at Sun Liang beside her. She only felt that Sun Liang, who used to be pleasing to the eye, was now extremely ugly. It had to be said that a man's strength was often more attractive to women than his looks. In just a moment, Lin Jun had already broken through the 100,000 kilometers barrier. Almost half of the spectators immediately stood up and started to applaud on the spot. At the heavenly gate, everyone was fighting for that slim chance of survival. When they saw someone performing outstandingly, these martial artists wouldn't be stingy with their applause. This was because when someone broke through the heavenly gate, it would also give them hope. Clap, 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 clap. The rhythmic applause resounded through the sky. Although Lin Jun, who was charging forward, couldn't hear it, he could imagine it. However, Lin Jun didn't have time to think about that. After 100,000 kilometers, the pressure began to increase. However, it was still nothing. Lin Jun's charge was still as fast as ever. 120,000, 150,000, 180,000, 200,000. If only half of the audience applauded at the beginning, more than half of the audience came out to applaud when the audience reached 200,000. There weren't many people who could surpass 200,000 in a day. Even if there were, most of them were old faces. There were very few newcomers who could surpass 200,000 on their first try. This could only mean that this newcomer had absolute strength that ordinary people could not hope to reach. Furthermore, many experienced warriors could tell that Lin Jun had a lot of stamina. This 200,000 was definitely not his limit. The current charging record of the black hole stage was 510,000 kilometers. Could Lin Jun really break it? After 200,000, Lin Jun felt a bit strained. Although he could still withstand it, it was indeed strenuous. However, he didn't shift his star force. He relied on his own strength to continue his charge. 220,000, 250,000, 280,000, 300,000. When Lin Jun broke through the 300,000 mark, almost everyone stood up and applauded, including the many world king powerhouses in the front row. Some people even whistled loudly. At the heavenly gate, all the large screens began to broadcast Lin Zhen's charge. This was a treatment that only those who broke through 300,000 could enjoy. If one couldn't even break through 300,000, then they wouldn't receive such treatment. Everyone was silent. In particular, the black hole martial artists were even more speechless. They all stood there in anticipation, wanting to see if a miracle would occur today. After all, most of the other people who broke through 300,000 were world kings and domain kings. There were also nebula experts, but there weren't many, and black hole experts were few and far between. As Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai saw this, they immediately wanted to slip away. There was no need to continue this bet. Sun Liang even knew that a black hole expert like him wasn't a match for a nebula expert. He couldn't even renege on the bet. But the white-haired world king who had been watching the big screen suddenly turned around. "Hey, where are you two going? You swore to bully others in a bet in front of this old man, and now you want to slip away? Do you think I'm transparent?" Sun Liang scowled. "Senior, this has nothing to do with you. We don't owe you money." "Yes, you don't owe me money, but this old man hates scumbags and bitches. Especially you. You failed to hook up with your elder sister and instead found your younger sister. It's fine if you found your younger sister, but you even transferred her over to anger your elder sister. Tell me, how much of scumbag are you?" After saying that, he pointed at Zhu Xiaodai. "You're a bitch. You even schemed to cut off your elder sister's arm for a second-rate trash. If this old man turned a blind eye to it, wouldn't I be as scumbag as you? Stay here. No one is allowed to leave. Whoever leaves will be destroyed." Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai secretly cursed their bad luck. They had encountered a world king who liked to meddle in other people's business. They were really unlucky. However, the world king had clearly threatened them, so they really didn't dare to move. They could only stay there obediently. Zhu Lingshan was enjoying listening to the side, but she also understood that this world king definitely didn't like to meddle in other people's business. Half of this matter was because of his personality, and the other half should be because of that handsome man. Only such a person could make the world king pay attention to him, and even be willing to befriend him. Otherwise, the world king probably wouldn't care. Lin Zhen didn't know the situation below. After rushing past 300,000, the pressure increased again. Even Lin Zhen felt that it was very strenuous. He estimated that with his own strength, it wouldn't be a problem to rush past 400,000 if he continued to charge. 500,000 should also be able to pass. However, 600,000 would mean that he would have to risk his life. If it was 700,000, the hope was very slim. Maybe it should be the transfer of star power. At least I should be able to rush past 800,000 or even higher in the first attempt. In this way, I will continue to cultivate for a while before I have the possibility of passing through the divine gate. With a thought, Lin Zhen was about to transfer his star power. However, he was suddenly horrified to find that the star power transfer couldn't be used here. It could be used in other places before. Why couldn't it be used when he was charging through the divine gate? Lin Zhen immediately thought of Zhuai Yu's words. Zhuai Yu once said that when he was charging through the divine gate, he couldn't teleport. He had to rely on his own strength to pass through. At this time, Lin Zhen understood that he couldn't use the star power transfer because the transferred star power didn't belong to his main body, but to his avatar. The divine gates test was extremely strict. It involved the major event of entering the primordial realm. Of course, it wouldn't allow any suspicion of fraud or cheating to appear. After all, Lin Zhen's star power transfer wasn't the power of his main body. It couldn't be counted. Lin Zhen felt a chill in his heart. Without the transfer of star power, it was impossible for him to pass through the divine gate. As for breaking the record of 510,000, it should be possible. The limit of his main body was about 600,000, less than 700,000. However, Lin Zhen didn't want to do that. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. If he broke the record on his first try, it would definitely attract the jealousy of others and even cause them to plot against him. He didn't want to do something that would cause him to die before he succeeded. However, he couldn't let others look down on him. After Lin Zhen made up his mind, he began to slowly withdraw his star power. However, his body was still rising. 320,000, 350,000, 380,000, 400,000. When the pressure of 400,000 was reduced, people clearly felt that Lin Jun's speed had slowed down. Sigh. What a pity. It's impossible to break the record. Yeah. What's the name of the first place? I heard that his name is Ku Xiangnan. He's the prince of the Sorcerer Empire. 510,000. He shocked everyone. It's still not enough. It's estimated to be 420,000 to 430,000. However, this result is already very good. He can be ranked in the top 10. Sigh. Let's go. Wash up and sleep. As expected, there's no way to pass the divine gate in the black hole stage. It's better to work hard and advance to the nebula stage. At least then, there's still a glimmer of hope. As expected, Lin Jun's final result was fixed at 420,000 kilometers. The people present gave Lin Jun a warm round of applause in response. This result ranked him 10th among all the black hole stage warriors. This also surprised Lin Jun. Indeed, the universe was vast and there were many capable people. Being able to cross 400,000 kilometers proved that the warrior's star power was at least 40,000. To be able to achieve this result in the black hole stage, although it was not as good as the domain monarch, it was enough to crush all the nebula stage warriors, especially the person in first place. His star power was definitely above 50,000. Such a person should not be underestimated. Even Lin Jun did not use the power of his doppelganger. Perhaps he still had some trump cards. Lin Jun was very satisfied with this result. He did not stand out too much and enter the top 10 without being too conspicuous. It was just right. After descending from the divine gate, Lin Jun deliberately staggered a little. No one could tell that something was wrong. In their eyes, Lin Jun was nothing. As long as Lin Jun wanted to conceal his star power, no one could tell how much star power he had. However, according to their estimates, Lin Jun's star power was only slightly more than 40,000. After calming down, Lin Jun walked back and stood in front of Zhu Lingshan and the others. Yo, the two of you are still here. You are really trustworthy. I thought that you might have run away. I don't want to cut off your arms. But since you are so trustworthy, I will be petty if I don't do it. Since that is the case, I can only reluctantly do it. Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai almost vomited blood. They thought that they also wanted to run away, but the key was that they could run away. At this time, no matter how reluctant they could only frown and persist. How about it? Have you decided? Whose arm will you cut off? Sun Liang still wanted to shirk and let Zhu Xiaodai take the blame, but when he saw Lin Jun and the white-haired Kai's unfriendly eyes, he did not dare to decline. He braced himself and stood up. It's not a big deal. Just cut off my arm. Good, you are a man. Chapter 597. Zhu Lingshan took the saber from Lin Jun's hand and was still hesitant. At this time, the white-haired Kai in front of them spoke. Martial artists are always overcautious. In the end, their achievements will be limited. Moving forward is the original intention of practicing martial arts. Lin Jun glanced at the Kai and then nodded to Zhu Lingshan, go. Zhu Lingshan's gaze also became firm. Thinking of the harm Sun Liang and Zhu Xiaodai usually did to her, she had no scruples and walked over. Sun Liang, you deserve this saber. Puff! The saber fell, and with a flash of fire, Sun Liang's arm fell to the ground. Sun Liang was still a bachelor. He thought that even if his arm fell, it could still be regenerated, so he pretended to be calm and didn't care. However, after the saber light fell, a flame gushed out from the blade. The dark cyan flame quickly burned his wound. Sun Liang suddenly screamed and slapped hard, but the fire was like a demonic fire. It couldn't be extinguished at all. It was about to spread to his body. The white-haired Kai looked at Lin Jun. Killing is not allowed in the queue. That's enough. Lin Jun nodded. He raised his hand, and the flame slowly extinguished. Although the flame was extinguished, the muscle tissue in Sun Liang's arm was completely destroyed. The cells lost their regenerative ability under the powerful firepower. If he wanted to recover from this wound, it would take decades or even hundreds of years. Ah, you destroyed my arm. My arm is gone. Sun Liang howled loudly. Zhu Xiaodai looked at him and couldn't help but take a step back. She already had the intention to leave him. Seeing Zhu Xiaodai's appearance, Sun Liang angrily grabbed her with one hand. You little bitch! You want to dump me when you see my arm is broken? If it weren't for you, would I take the initiative to bear this saber? You have to be my slave for the rest of your life. Don't even think about leaving me. Although the ones who killed him were Lin Zhun and Zhu Lingshan, he didn't have the courage to find trouble with Lin Zhun at this moment. Instead, he vented all his anger on the woman. Zhu Xiaodai rolled her eyes, but she did not dare to talk back. After all, Sun Liang was still at the nebulous stage. Although he was disabled, he was still at the nebulous stage. She could not resist. However, she had secretly decided in her heart that Sun Liang's strength had been greatly damaged. When she advanced to the galaxy, she would find an opportunity to kill him. The two of them, a scumbag and a slut, entangled with each other and went far away. They probably wouldn't come to break through the heavenly gate again. Watching the two of them walk away, Zhu Lingshan was stunned for a while. Suddenly, she felt her eyes moisten. Lin Zhun took the knife from Zhu Lingshan's hand. You don't have to feel burdened. You should treat people the way you treat them. To deal with this kind of person, you have to be ruthless. Otherwise, they will think that you're easy to bully. Thank you, little brother. I still don't know your name. Lin Zhun from Fire Qilin. After a simple self-introduction, Lin Zhun pointed to white-haired Kai. I think you should thank this senior. He also spoke up for you. Otherwise, I'm afraid this matter wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Zhu Lingshan immediately expressed her gratitude. Of course, she could see that Kai had helped her. Whether it was because of Lin Zhun or not, she had to express her gratitude. Kai waved his hand at Zhu Lingshan. It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. Little girl, you go to your thing. I will talk to this little brother. Zhu Lingshan was stunned for a moment. Then her eyes fell on Lin Zhun. In her opinion, Lin Zhun was strong and handsome. She was also beautiful and charming. If the two of them got along, there might be a possibility of them being together. Not to mention, Lin Zhun had helped her. She really didn't want to leave. The white-haired world king laughed. Little girl, it is important to know one's own limits. You are an outstanding woman, but you cannot be considered a phoenix among men. You shouldn't let your imagination run wild with this man. For you to have such a fortuitous encounter today is already your good fortune. You should be a good friend. Lin Zhun also smiled at Zhu Lingshan. Let's add each other as friends in the dimensional universe. If there is a chance in the future, we can get together. I will bring my 3 wives to meet you. Zhu Lingshan's face darkened for a moment, but she quickly adjusted herself. Indeed, Lin Zhun was able to reach 400,000 kilometers in his first attempt at the Gate of Heaven. A person with such strength was destined to soar into the sky in the future. She really wasn't worthy of him. Although she didn't mind that Lin Zhun had 3 wives, she was still somewhat dissatisfied in her heart. She immediately left Lin Zhun's dimensional universe number. When there was a chance in the future, she really wanted to see what kind of phoenixes his wives were. After adding each other as friends, Zhu Lingshan left. She wanted to cultivate. It was still unknown whether she could break through the Gate of Heaven in more than 800 years. After Zhu Lingshan left, Kai called out to Lin Zhun. Come, little brother, sit down. Let's chat. Hee, okay. Then I will accompany Senior to chat. Lin Zhun sat down beside the Realm King and asked, How should I address you, Senior? This old man is Si Renjia. Others call me Lai Feng Kai. Senior Si, nice to meet you. Coincidentally, the first dojo I joined was called Lai Feng. I also felt that we hit it off the moment I saw you. I just heard that you are from the Fire Qilin? That's right. I came to the Fire Qilin Empire because this Sagittarius Nebula is where my hometown is. Yes, I came from the Hague Empire. As for the Fire Qilin, I came here once before. There's also an old friend here called Tian Haoyu. He is the emperor here. Do you know him? So Senior knows our emperor. Of course I know him. Speaking of which, I am also the Duke of the Fire Qilin. It's just that I haven't enjoyed the treatment of a duke in all these years. I really should find His Majesty Tian Haoyu to discuss this. Okay, then let's find him. Si Renjia was also straightforward. He actually found Tian Haoyu through the dimensional universe. As a local snake, Tian Haoyu naturally occupied a front row seat and quickly ran over. Old man C, why are you in such a hurry to find me? You should know that if I leave for too long, my seat will easily be taken by others. Why are you panicking? I'm here to introduce you to someone you know. Take a look. Do you know this little brother? Tian Haoyu took a look and was stunned for a moment. Lin Jun, you're actually at Old Man C's place. How do you know him? Have you become an idiot as an emperor? Didn't you see Lin Jun just now? 420,000 kilometers. That's what is shown on the first screen on the left. Isn't that where I am? Tian Haoyu nodded. Yes. Just now, Lin Jun was here. Lin Jun, you don't know how excited I was just now. I told the Kai beside me that this person is from our empire. He is from our empire. The surrounding Kai were quite envious. Hee, you have really done well for our empire. Speaking up to here, he suddenly said, did this old man C cheat you of your money? You brat, why are you spending money to find a seat here? It's not like you don't have my dimensional universe number. Why would I take your money when you're looking for me? We can go as many times as we want. Old man C, hurry up and spit out the money you swindled Lin Jun. Hey, I didn't cheat you. After all, I didn't know Lin Jun before. I only took 3 billion from him. Tian Haoyu, your charge is 5 billion. Mine is the cheapest. You actually dared to secretly reduce the price. No wonder I said that business is getting less and less recently. No, you have to compensate me. Looking at the two Kais bickering like children, Lin Jun also laughed. His mood was much better. Kai were also humans. In the eyes of others, they were high and mighty, but in front of people of the same level, they were no different from ordinary people. Of course, Lin Jun wouldn't take the money C. Renjia returned. That was two different things. After chatting and laughing for a while, Tian Haoyu simply switched places with the Realm King next to the Lifeng Realm King. The few of them sat together and told Lin Jun not to leave, but to stay here and cultivate. Of course, Lin Jun couldn't ask for more. With two Kai's side, not only was it very safe, but it was also very beneficial to his cultivation. After all, their experience and strength were not something Lin Jun could compare with. Tian Haoyu suddenly said to Lin Jun, tell me the truth. When you went through the heavenly gate just now, were you deliberately hiding your strength? I feel that you can still go up a little bit more. See, Renjia also nodded. Yes, I also felt that way. Although he didn't seem to have any flaws. If you observe carefully, when he ascended 400,000 kilometers, his speed decreased a little abruptly. At that time, I was only puzzled. After hearing what you said, I feel that it is indeed possible. Tian Haoyu said, Old brother C, you don't know how much of a genius this kid is. When our empire fought with the demon insect empire, he actually killed hundreds of millions of demon insects alone. Many of them were at the nebula stage and even nebula level 9. At that time, I knew that he must have a lot of trump cards. Looking at the two Kai's careful analysis, Lin Jun smiled bitterly. Old brothers, can you give me some privacy? In short, I only have one thing to say. The current me can't go through the heavenly gate, so it's better to hide my strength than to embarrass myself. Old brothers, you can understand, right? The two Kai powerhouses looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They originally only had a little suspicion, but they didn't expect Lin Jun to admit it so openly. This was his first time going through the heavenly gate, and 400,000 kilometers was not the limit. If that was the case, Lin Jun could at least go 500,000 kilometers. Tian Haoyu said with emotion, Old brother Lin, everyone knows the difficulty of going through the heavenly gate. No one dares to guarantee that they can go through the heavenly gate. But I can guarantee that as long as you have a little more time to cultivate, you will definitely be able to go to the primordial realm. I can also guarantee that Lin Jun's potential is too great. Old brother, you aren't planning on going through the heavenly gate in the black hole stage, are you? That's a little too shocking. Si Renjia thought for a moment, then said, Lin Jun, you still have competitors. Ku Xiangnan from the Sorcerer Empire is also in the black hole stage. He passed 510,000 kilometers on his first try. If there are no accidents, he will definitely go to the primordial realm. Chapter 598. Renja also clapped his hands. That's right. Both of you have the bloodline of the fire Qilin. You'll be together in the primordial realm. Linjun sat beside Tian Haoyu. Brother, what's the situation with the Qilin clan in the primordial realm? Tian Haoyu was a realm king, and an old one at that. He was already 7,000 to 8,000 years old, and he was also the emperor of a high-level civilization. He definitely knew more about the situation in the primordial realm than Linjun. Tian Haoyu said, the situation isn't very complicated. In the primordial realm, the Galactic Beast Alliance is just a loose alliance. In fact, the various clans are very far apart. Currently, it seems that the leader of the Dragon Clan is the leader of the alliance. Our Qilin clan is also divided into several clans. Each clan is very big. There are higher-ups and ordinary members. All the higher-ups must have the bloodline of the fire Qilin. As for the ordinary members, there are countless of them. Look at the Galactic Beast Army behind us. All the beasts are under the jurisdiction of the Qilin clan. Linjun looked back. Among all the galactic beasts, the beasts had the most numbers. Even if 1 in 1,000 of them could enter the primordial realm, it was still an unbelievable number. Therefore, the Qilin clan is the largest clan in the Galactic Beast Alliance. They have even more members than the Dragon Clan, but their quality is uneven. Unlike the Dragon Clan, they have gold dragons, black dragons, white dragons, flood dragons, pythons, earth dragons, and so on. Although they don't have as many members as us, their overall quality is stronger. In order to fight for the leadership of the Galactic Beast Alliance, the clan attaches great importance to the cultivation of key members. For example, the Divine Gate. If you're the first to pass a certain realm, you'll definitely receive the highest reward in the clan. That's why I said that your competitor is Ku Xiangnan, because we both have the bloodline of the fire Qilin. Renja also added, I originally thought that Ku Xiangnan would definitely be the #1 in the Qilin clan, or even the #1 in the Black Hole period. I didn't expect Linjun to come out of nowhere. I reckon that Ku Xiangnan will have a headache now. Tian Haoyu sneered. He's not the only one with a headache. Ku Xianglong from the Sorcerer Empire will have a headache too. Just thinking about that old man scratching his head makes me feel better. Renja laughed heartily. Tian Haoyu, you must be angry because Ku Xianglong snatched your Fire Kirin's #1 spot, right? He ascended to the primordial realm before you, so he's bound to reach the immortality stage in the future. Tian Haoyu snorted. Going to the primordial realm first doesn't necessarily mean that he can ascend to the immortal level. When he left, he was still concerned about his son's situation. He hoped that his son could ascend to the primordial realm as the champion of the Black Hole stage. If that's the case, he won't have any worries and might really have a chance to ascend to the immortal level. However, if his son can't get first place, then he might not be able to ascend. His son is his weakness. As he spoke, Tian Haoyu patted Lin Jun's shoulder. Brother, whether it's for yourself or for the Fire Qilin Empire, how about you do me a favor and help me snatch Ku Xiangnan's #1 spot? I want him to be the champion of the Black Hole stage. Lin Jun smiled bitterly. Brother, no one can guarantee that. After all, my first time was only 420,000 kilometers, while Ku Xiangnan's was 510,000 kilometers. The difference is almost 100,000 kilometers. Don't play dumb, kid. I know you're hiding your strength. Anyway, I'm depending on you, so you have to agree even if you don't want to. From today onwards, I'll be with you every day and supervise your cultivation. You can't slack off. Brother, whether or not I can ascend to the immortal level depends on you. Lin Jun didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at this shameless emperor. He thought to himself, you really can't judge a book by its cover. The emperor who used to be high and mighty and could communicate with trillions of people actually had such a side to him. Renja also spoke up for Tian Haoyu. Brother, you really have to help him. Tian Haoyu and Ku Xianglong are direct competitors. The two of them have been at odds since they were young. They're both emperors of high-level universe countries, and both have the bloodline of the Fire Qilin. They see each other as their biggest enemies. It can be said that once one of them ascends to the immortal level, The other one will lose and never be able to ascend again. You can't leave him in the lurch. Tian Haoyu was even more ruthless. He directly grabbed onto Lin Zhen's collar and looked like he wouldn't let go if he didn't agree. Lin Zhen was speechless. He could only pat Tian Haoyu's shoulder. Brother, even if you don't say it, I, Lin Zhen, am not someone who dares to be inferior to others. I promise you, I'll definitely take first place. That's great. I know you're a good brother. From today onwards, you're my brother. We'll call each other brothers from now on. On the other side, Serene also clenched his fist and shouted, "Oh yeah." Lin Zhen was dumbfounded. He looked at Serene. Senior, what did you shout just now? Serene was also stunned. I don't know what it means. Anyway, I think I heard someone shouting like that somewhere when they're excited. I felt that it was very imposing, so I learned it. I wonder which planet it came from. Brother, what do you mean by that? Lin Zhen scratched his head. This sentence sounded familiar to him, but he couldn't remember what it meant. Seeing Serene and Tian Haoyu high-fiving each other in celebration, Lin Zhen knew that the two of them had an extremely good relationship. Soon, these two kais refreshed Lin Zhen's impression of them. One of them sat beside Lin Zhen. The three of them had their arms around each other's shoulders like brothers. Tian Haoyu even took out a large amount of delicious wine and started drinking on the spot. Come, come, come. Have a taste. This is a fruit I grew in my inner world. It's called Dragon Phoenix Fragrance. It's delicious to eat with wine. Have a taste. I also have some here. This is wild demon pork. I caught a batch and raised it in my inner world. Although it's annoying to poop and pee every day, the taste of this meat is really extraordinary. Seeing the two of them magically taking things out of their inner worlds, Lin Zhen also realized the use of a kai's inner world. It wasn't just for cultivation. It could also be used to raise pigs. This really refreshed his worldview. Tian Haoyu's wine was very overbearing. The few of them drank until they were a little dizzy. After drinking, the relationship between the three of them became much closer. The two kais went to sleep on the spot. Before going to sleep, they reminded Lin Zhen not to be lazy and to immediately cultivate. He absolutely couldn't lose to Kuxiangnan. Lin Zhen also wanted to start cultivating. Now that things had changed, his cultivation plan had to be changed. Lin Zhen's original plan was to find an opportunity to enter the nebula stage when he lit up Mars. 100,000 star power should be enough to resist the power of the black hole. However, after breaking through the heavenly gate, Lin Zhen discovered that the star power obtained through star power transfer wasn't omnipotent. If star power transfer couldn't be used during the heavenly gate, then it might not be used during the breakthrough to the nebula stage. If that was the case, Lin Zhen wouldn't be able to enter the nebula stage. He might even die. The safest way was to let his body's star power exceed 100,000. Only then could he ensure that he could smoothly pass this tribulation. Moreover, Lin Zhen had agreed to compete with Kuxiangnan for the first place in the black hole stage. It was even more impossible for him to advance. My body star power is 70,000. There's at least a gap of 30,000. If I want to make up for this gap, I'll have to light up the star moon. It's been less than half a year since the last expansion of the dark star space. If I want to expand it again, I might not be able to do it in 100 years. There's no other way. I have to work hard and cultivate. Lin Zhen could expand the dark star space through cultivation. However, this wasn't the cultivation of the Dantian Sea of Qi. Normally, it wouldn't increase his star power. It could only expand the space a little. This was because the growth of the dark star had reached its limit. Only by lighting up the star of moon could he increase his star power. Thus, the long days of cultivation began. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. There was a large group of spaceships far away from the Pillar of Life. These were all parked by martial artists. The continuous undulations made it look like a city. There was a flying palace that stood out among the spaceships. It looked like a villa. Inside the cabin, there was a huge swimming pool with rippling blue waves. Beside the pool, a group of slender maids were waiting with towels, red wine, and other things in their hands. Whoosh! Waves rose into the sky. In the pool, a huge monster's head popped out. It had a fiery mane, golden scales, and a cold glint in its eyes. Its huge head shook and sparks came out of its nostrils. The smell of sulfur filled the air. It was more than 10 meters long. This was a fire qilin that had entered the growth stage. The fire qilin climbed out of the pool and lay on the shore. The maids immediately came over to wipe its scales and fur. The fire qilin spoke in human language. Xiangnan, it's time to come out. How long do you plan to stay in there? Remember, you're a fire qilin, not a water qilin. Staying in the volcano should be our habit. Gurgle. A string of bubbles appeared under the water. Another monster appeared. This monster looked like a fire qilin as well. However, it hadn't fully evolved. If it wanted to become a real qilin, it should have reached the growth stage. It was still in the infancy stage. However, it wasn't far from the growth stage. Currently, it was already 70% qilin. It didn't maintain its qilin form like the previous fire qilin. After coming out of the pool, it turned into a strong young man and lay there, allowing the maids to wipe its body and massage it. Brother, fire qilins need a bathe too. Besides, we're all people who have awakened our bloodlines. It shouldn't be a problem for me to maintain some human habits. That huge fire qilin was very comfortable being massaged by the maids. It narrowed its eyes and said, "Of course it's not a problem. If you're willing to bathe, you can bathe however you want. However, I hope that you won't be depressed. If you get triggered by something small, I'll be very doubtful if you still have any hope of passing the heavenly gates." Ku Xiangnan snorted. Brother, you're underestimating me. Don't forget that I'm still number one in the black hole stage. There's only one competitor now. If you have the energy, you should worry about yourself. The competition at the domain monarch stage is more intense. Oh ho ho. It's not scary to have many competitors. On the contrary, you'll be able to suppress everyone. However, it's usually scary to have only one competitor. Xiangnan, look at you. That Lin Zhun isn't simple, right? The huge fire qilin shook its mane. Water droplets splashed everywhere, drenching the thin towels of the maids. After shaking off the water droplets, it turned into a man. Chapter 599. Ku Xiangdong was a domain monarch. Although he might not be as talented as his younger brother, Ku Xiangnan, his absolute strength was quite strong. However, Ku Xiangnan did not seem to be convinced by his brother. He shook off the water droplets on his head. "You better take care of yourself. I'll definitely pass the heavenly gate. Don't think that just because Dad went to the primordial realm, you can make arrangements for me without restraint." Hearing his younger brother's words, Ku Xiangdong shrugged helplessly. "I didn't mean that. It's best that you didn't. I'll settle Lin Zhun's matter myself. You have to know that the cultivation method I cultivate comes from the primordial realm. Dad went through a lot to obtain it, so only those geniuses in the primordial realm can be compared to me. In the new territories, no one can surpass me during the black hole period. All right, I wish you success." Ku Xiangnan stood up and walked out. Ku Xiangdong looked at his younger brother's back as he left, and his face darkened. Xiangnan is extremely talented, but he hasn't suffered any setbacks. If he doesn't handle Lin Zhun well, he won't be able to pass. However, since I'm here, I'll definitely help him clear the obstacles. As Realm Kings, Si Renjie and Tian Haoyu don't have much time left here. Lin Zhun, when your protection is gone, let's see how you're going to compete with Xiangnan. Time passed quickly in the Heavenly Gate, especially for someone like Lin Zhun who used all his energy to expand the Dark Star space. With two great Realm Kings by his side, no one dared to find trouble with Lin Zhun. Hence, Lin Zhun had the most relaxed time of his life. The difficulty of the Heavenly Gate gradually made too many people give up. When Lin Zhun arrived, the line of 10,000 people was already 200,000 kilometers away from the Heavenly Gate, and the line gradually shortened. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers, tens of thousands of kilometers. Although Realm Kings had to endure the most pressure to pass the Heavenly Gate, those who could cultivate to Realm King were all extremely talented people. The number of Realm Kings also decreased rapidly. The older Realm Kings all left one by one. When Lin Zhun had been here for 50 years, Si Renjie had made a breakthrough and successfully leaped through the Heavenly Gate to ascend to the primordial realm. Before he left, Si Renjie already felt that he would succeed this time. He also bid farewell to Lin Jun and Tian Haoyu. Tian Haoyu, I'm leaving. You two have to be careful while you're here. So far, neither Ku Xiangnan nor Lin Jun have passed. The competition is still ongoing. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, Lin Jun's safety won't be a problem. Tian Haoyu patted his chest and guaranteed that Si Renjia had successfully left. After Si Renjia's departure, Ku Xiangnan began his next charge. Ku Xiangnan had charged twice in the past few years. The first time, he reached an altitude of 620,000 kilometers, and the second time, he reached an altitude of 750,000 kilometers. His 750,000 kilometers was already the record for the black hole era, and Ku Xiangnan's third charge attracted even more attention. Under everyone's gaze, Ku Xiangnan's third charge reached a distance of 890,000 kilometers. He wasn't far from reaching the top. Lin Jun wasn't affected by Ku Xiangnan at all. He was still cultivating at a moderate pace, because he could see that Ku Xiangnan was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Although he reached 890,000 kilometers, Ku Xiangnan had already done his best. Obviously, he wasn't satisfied with this result. His original plan was to reach 900,000 kilometers. That way, he would be able to reach the top in one go the next time he charged. Ku Xiangnan had already reached 890,000 kilometers. The difference between 890,000 and 900,000 was huge. If he didn't reach 900,000 this time, he wouldn't be able to reach 1 million the next time. Therefore, Lin Jun could see that Ku Xiangnan was already impatient. Oomph. Are you trying to show off to me again and again? Don't you know that the more you act like this, the more it proves that you're guilty? After 50 years of cultivation, Lin Jun's Dantian Qi had already expanded by about a third. He estimated that in another 100 years, he would be able to light up the second moon subjugation star. Just give me another 100 years, and that'll be enough. Time passed slowly. Soon, it was the 260th year since the opening of the Heavenly Gate. Although there were still 10,000 people in the queue, the number of people in the queue had decreased to only a few hundred kilometers. Even ordinary martial artists would be able to charge at least once a year. At this time, the world kings in the front row had no more money to earn. No one was willing to spend a lot of money to buy a chance to charge. Many world kings stayed because there was money to be made. They wanted to go to the primordial realm to accumulate wealth. At this time, there was no point in staying. Most of the world kings left at this time. Some went to the primordial realm, while others felt that they had no chance and chose to give up. World kings had a lifespan of 10,000 years. Even if they couldn't go to the primordial realm in the end, staying in the new territories to enjoy 10,000 years was a very pleasant thing. Among these world kings, Tian Haoyu was included. Lin Jun, I'm leaving too. If I don't go to the primordial realm, I'm afraid I'll never have the chance to catch up to Ku Xianglong. Tian Haoyu also bid farewell to Lin Jun. Go quickly. I'm still counting on you to go to the Fire Kirin and help me make a stop. After I leave, you have to be careful. Without the World King powerhouses, those domain kings have no restrictions. You have to know that Ku Xiangnan's brother is also a powerful domain king. I'll be careful. Tian Haoyu nodded and went to the charging location. He charged through the heavenly gate that was 1,000,000 kilometers long and went straight to the primordial realm. 10 more years. In 10 more years, I'll be able to light up the moon carapace. Lin Jun was about to continue cultivating when he saw several domain kings looking at him with ill intentions. He stopped in his tracks. These people were eyeing his seat in the first row. Previously, Si Renjia's seat had been occupied by him. Now that Tian Haoyu had left, the two seats in the first row had attracted many people's attention. Lin Jun didn't have the slightest reluctance and immediately turned to leave. Whoever wanted to sit in this seat could sit there. He didn't plan to charge anyway. It was the same wherever he cultivated. He had just taken 2 steps when the dimensional universe's communication system suddenly rang. There was a message. The person who left the message was Zhu Lingshan. Lin Jun, leave quickly. Ku Xiangdong wants to attack you. I saw him bringing people over to you. Lin Jun was shocked. He didn't expect Ku Xiangdong to be so decisive. Tian Haoyu had just left, and he immediately brought people over. It seemed like he couldn't stay in the Heavenly Gate any longer. Lin Jun was unusually annoyed. If he had another 10 years, he would have more than 100,000 points of star power and easily jump through the Heavenly Gate. However, the other party didn't even give him this little bit of time. Go! Go now and find a place to cultivate for 10 years before coming back. Lin Jun knew very well that he couldn't face a domain king with his current strength. Someone like the Tianfeng domain king could only be considered a weakling among the domain kings. Ku Xiangdong, who had the Fire Qilin bloodline, was definitely a powerhouse. Lin Jun definitely wouldn't be able to fight back. Lin Jun left the front row and rushed out of the wine-red nebula at high speed. He had just left when Ku Xiangdong brought 4 or 5 domain kings here. Where's Lin Jun? He just left. Less than a minute ago, someone said. Less than a minute? He can't have gone far. Chase. The domain kings immediately chased out of the wine-red nebula. However, Lin Jun had left first, and it wasn't easy to catch up. Within a minute, they chased out of the wine-red nebula area of the Sagittarius constellation. However, they happened to see Lin Jun's spaceship speeding away. Brother Dong, Lin Jun escaped. Continue chasing. You guys pilot the spaceship and relay the chase. But Brother Dong, this doesn't seem to be meaningful. He's been traveling through parallel universes. The chances of us catching up to him are almost negligible. No, it's meaningful. I've been observing Lin Jun for a long time. He's been cultivating a technique. Although I don't know what he's cultivating, based on his performance, he's not far from success. Ku Xiangdong quickly analyzed. Once Lin Jun succeeds, my brother will lose. However, this kind of cultivation can only be done with a calm mind. He can't cultivate at all if he escapes from your pursuit. Thus, my request isn't to catch him, but to prevent him from breaking through. As long as he doesn't break through, Xiangnan will have hope. With that, Ku Xiangdong extended a few fingers at them. 10 years. It's best if you can kill him. At the very least, you have to delay him for 10 years. I guarantee that Xiangnan will be able to enter the primordial realm. By then, your mission will be over. All right, Brother Dong, you've said it yourself. We'll definitely do our best. Lin Jun can't escape either. Our spaceships will relay the chase. I don't believe that he has countless energy crystals. After the domain kings agreed, they immediately chased after him in their spaceships. This mission was not considered difficult. They could still do it if they just had to delay Lin Jun. After the domain kings left, Ku Xiangdong returned to the Heavenly Gate and let out a long sigh. Although this was not the best outcome, it was not bad. Lin Jun's failure this time would definitely affect his state of mind. He might not be able to recover from this setback and never have the chance to enter the primordial realm again. He returned to the Heavenly Gate with peace of mind and happened to meet Ku Xiangnan. I heard that Lin Jun ran away. Yes. Perhaps he gave up because he felt that he couldn't compete with you. Oomph. Do you think I'm an idiot? However, even if he stays, the first place of the Fire Kirin Black Hole stage will not belong to him. Although Ku Xiangnan said that, he was obviously more relaxed. Without the pressure from Lin Jun, he was still very confident that he could pass the Heavenly Gate. Ku Xiangdong smiled and patted his shoulder. Then I'll congratulate you in advance. The two of them gradually walked away. Not long after they left, a Wolf Clan warrior at the back of the queue in the Black Hole stage raised his head and looked at their backs with a sharp gaze. Those who were familiar with Lin Jun would definitely recognize the look in his eyes. Chapter 600. Many people gathered around Ku Xiangnan. They were all from the Galactic Beast Alliance. In everyone's opinion, the first place of the Black Hole stage would definitely be Ku Xiangnan's. The person currently ranked second in the Black Hole stage had only achieved 620,000 kilometers in the Heavenly Gate, which was a far cry from Ku Xiangnan's 890,000 kilometers. It was impossible for him to surpass Ku Xiangnan. Ever since Lin Jun had escaped, the haze on Ku Xiangnan's face had completely dissipated, and his cultivation speed had increased day by day. Since he had entered the primordial realm as the first place of the Black Hole stage, the Fire Kirin would definitely focus on cultivating Ku Xiangnan. They might even have to rely on Ku Xiangnan to take care of them in the future. Although these martial artists were considered elites in the universe, Almost everyone was terrified of going to an unknown new world. If they could lean against a big tree, it would be nice to be able to enjoy the shade. It had been 10 years since Lin Jun had escaped, and Ku Xiangnan's cultivation was about to end. Today, Ku Xiangnan would come out of seclusion. Everyone believed that the first place of the black hole stage would be born. In the spaceship of the two brothers, Ku Xiangdong and Ku Xiangnan, everyone was busy preparing. Ku Xiangdong was wearing an evening gown and looking at his younger brother, who was trying on clothes. Xiangnan, today is your big day. How are your preparations going? The people from the primordial realm will be here soon. Ku Xiangnan straightened his collar. Speaking of which, I really admire you. How did you manage to send the news to the primordial realm? It's actually very simple. Dad has already established a foothold in the Fire Kirin. Back then, someone opened a wormhole in the new territories. Dad sent a clansman over and got in touch with me. Oh, Dad is really something, to be able to come up with such an unimaginable idea. Yes, and he even asked that clansman to ask me how your cultivation is going. If you can become the first place of the black hole stage, he will bring people over from the primordial realm to pick you up on the day you succeed. Pick me up? Don't tell me Dad has the money to buy wormhole eggs so quickly? I also raised this question at that time. My dad's answer was that he didn't have that much money, but to be the first in the black hole stage, it was worth the money. If you could do it, the Fire Kirin clan would rather use a wormhole egg to let you pass in glory. This is the treatment that the first place deserves. When Ku Xiangnan heard this, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. The haze of being suppressed by Lin Jinback then had been swept away. Being able to have someone from the primordial realm personally receive them was an unprecedented honor in the heavenly gates. Then how did he know that I came out today? Based on your cultivation state, I asked the people who went to the primordial realm one by one to bring him the news. You've already set the date you're going to come out of seclusion. I've also confirmed with you many times that there's no problem, so we've already agreed on this date. Sure enough, your star power broke through 100,000 a day, and you came out of seclusion. It's exactly the same as the agreed date. Ku Xiangdong looked at the time in the dimensional universe. The agreed time is 12 o'clock sharp. You'll see the wormhole appear then. Send someone from the primordial realm. My dad said he wanted to give you a surprise. Ku Xiangnan was also a little anxious. He looked at the time. There's still 2 hours. After cultivating for so many years, this is the first time I feel that time is passing so slowly. Don't worry. Good things are never too late. Let's wait a little longer. With this momentum, even if all of us go to the primordial realm, no one in the new territories will dare to offend our family. Okay, then let's wait a little longer. We've waited for so many years. 2 more hours won't make a difference. The two brothers sat there, waiting anxiously for the time to come. A group of people from the Galactic Beast Alliance gathered together and chatted. As fewer and fewer people challenged the heavenly gates, there was no longer competition for positions. Every ancient martial art practitioner had a chance every 3 to 5 months, so the overall atmosphere was much more peaceful. Ancient martial art practitioners from various races would gather together to chat when they had nothing to do. There were almost no Kais left here. The territory kings did not care about those in the nebula and black hole stages, so the ancient martial art practitioners formed a small circle. Ku Xiangnan is going to pass the heavenly gates. Someone from the black hole stage has finally succeeded. There are fewer and fewer old friends here now. That's normal. People strive for greater heights. Even if we're separated now, we'll have a chance to meet in the primordial realm in the future. If we all advance to the immortal level, we can still drink and chat. Is it so easy to advance to the immortal level? I'm afraid not even 1 in a million will succeed. My dream is to advance to the immortal level. As long as I achieve that, I'll return to the new territories and live in luxury forever. Then, I'll marry a wife as beautiful as Miss Lingshan. The group of ancient martial art practitioners laughed wantonly. Teasing female ancient martial art practitioners in their free time was one of the ways these bored people passed the time. As a great beauty, Zhu Lingshan was often the target of teasing. Zhu Lingshan was not annoyed. After laughing, her gaze passed through the crowd and landed on a wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioner. This wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioner was in the black hole stage. All these years, he had been cultivating among the crowd, but he had never attempted the heavenly gates. Naturally, the wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioners were not handsome. This ancient martial art practitioner looked ferocious, but he wore a metal mask, so no one could see his true face. The reason Zhu Lingshan paid attention to this inconspicuous wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioner was mainly because she felt that he resembled someone who had already left, but she could not forget about him. Seeing that Zhu Lingshan was paying attention to the wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioner again, a tiger tribe ancient martial art practitioner said, "Miss Lingshan, I think there's something wrong with your taste. We have handsome men, stylish men, and a macho man like me. Why don't you pay attention to them? Why do you pay attention to this ugly wolf tribe ancient martial art practitioner? It's fine if this ugly guy is strong, but he's in the black hole stage. It's fine if he's just in the black hole stage, but he's also a guy who doesn't even dare to attempt the heavenly gates once. He's ugly, weak, and as timid as a mouse. Why are you paying attention to him?" Zhu Lingshan glared at the tiger tribe ancient martial art practitioner. "It's none of your business." Zhu Lingshan had improved very quickly over the years. As a Nebula level 9, her star power had risen to more than 40,000. This was definitely not low in the Nebula stage. After the heavenly gates opened, cultivating here could absorb the aura from the primordial realm. Even if one could not pass the heavenly gates, cultivating here will be much easier than before. Therefore, the upper limit of everyone's star power had been greatly increased. The days when Luo Ho could dominate an arena with more than 20,000 star power were gone forever. This also proved how powerful the ancient martial art practitioners of the primordial realm were. Therefore, many ancient martial art practitioners who had no hope of passing the heavenly gates still stayed here to cultivate. The Tiger Tribe ancient martial art practitioner did not dare to offend Zhu Lingshan. He could only glare fiercely at the Wolf Tribe ancient martial art practitioner. He wanted to find a chance to teach this guy a lesson. However, he had received a piece of news that something big was going to happen today. He did not know what it was exactly, but seeing so many people gathered together to flatter Kuxiangnan, it should not be a small matter. Lin Jun was in the crowd. All the noise around him had nothing to do with him. There seemed to be a barrier around him that isolated him from the outside world, allowing him to fully immerse himself in his cultivation. 10 years had passed, and his cultivation had reached a critical moment. The dark star world in his body made a slight trembling sound as its boundaries expanded. This process was to open up a new world and open up a larger space. It's done. When the dark star world's opening reached a critical point, Lin Jun could clearly receive a signal. His mind power evolved, and 99% of the emerald glow's power started to surge towards the second star in his body, the moon glutton star. The advancement of mind power was getting more and more difficult. So far, Lin Jun had not found any ancient martial art practitioners at the black hole or nebula stage who could reach the emerald glow perfection stage. However, some top nebula stage martial art practitioners were like Lin Jun, who possessed 99% of the emerald glow's power. The 99% to the perfection stage was also a node. After making all the preparations, Lin Jun opened the star chart of the moon glutton star. When the concealing power was opened, the moon glutton star power gushed out instantly. Lin Jun had already experienced this situation once, so he was not too surprised. He calmly adjusted his power and allowed his energy center to adapt to the new star power as soon as possible. The wave-like star power washed over Lin Jun's energy center again and again, surging back and forth. At the same time, Lin Jun's star power also rose in a straight line. When a moon glutton star was lit up, Lin Jun's star power had increased by 44,000. The moon glutton star's power was slightly stronger than the moon glutton star, but not by much. It only increased by 50,000 star power. 50,000 star power was a huge number. When all the star power was released, Lin Jun's 7 orifices and all the pores on his body opened up. It was like a steam bun in a cage that was suddenly full of holes spewing out hot air. The only difference was that the hot air had been replaced by resplendent star power. This sudden change gave everyone a fright. F*CK. Did he break through? Get out of the way, he's going to self-destruct. Wow, is this the star power of the black hole stage? It's so oppressive. It can't be, right? This wolf cub, who hasn't said a word for 10 years, is going to explode? Everyone tried to hide, but they didn't know what was going on with Lin Jun. They had seen star power eruptions before, but they had never seen such an explosive star power eruption. Zhu Lingshan heard the sound and looked over. However, before she could see anything, a person suddenly shouted loudly from afar. Look, it's a wormhole. Everyone's attention was attracted by the voice. They saw that the sky had opened up in the wine-red nebula at the side of the heavenly gate. Chapter 601. As a warrior from the New Territories, they might have heard a lot about the Yuan realm and knew about the wormhole. However, very few people had actually seen the opening of a wormhole or seen people from the Yuan realm. Thus, when the wormhole opened, almost everyone was shocked. A ray of light flashed, and a carriage from the Yuan realm appeared. 2 green bulls were pulling a luxuriously decorated carriage. It was not a car or an electric scooter, but an antique horse carriage. However, the materials used to make the carriage were extremely luxurious, and everyone could tell the value of this carriage with just one look. It was probably on an ordinary interstellar battleship. That was because they had never seen many of the materials used to make the carriage. Compared to the carriage, the 2 green bulls pulling the carriage were even more eye-catching. That was because they were actually 2 high-level galactic beasts in the star domain stage. High-level galactic beasts in the star domain stage could already transform into human form. But these 2 green bulls were still pulling the carriage. They actually let the domain monarch pull the carriage. Such extravagance immediately shocked everyone. A handsome young man was driving the carriage. He waved a colorful whip in his hand and whipped the green bulls forward. Chapter 602. This situation shocked Ku Xiangnan quite a bit. In his mind, he had all the potential opponents in mind. No matter how he calculated, this unknown werewolf next to him would never stand a chance. Who was this ugly freak? To be able to suppress Ku Xiangnan from 100,000 kilometers away was no easy feat. Ku Xiangnan was not the only one who was shocked. Almost everyone present was shocked. Who was Ku Xiangnan? He was known as the #1 black hole prodigy in the New Territories. His star power was over 100,000. This number not only crushed all the black hole prodigies, but also most of the nebula-level prodigies. Even if there was someone who could barely compete with Ku Xiangnan, it was just barely. Even the short-lived Lin Jun was not as good as Ku Xiangnan. But now, when hundreds of black hole prodigies were charging at him, Ku Xiangnan was left behind. And this was when the people from the primordial realm came to greet him. How is this possible? How could this be? How could Ku Xianglong, the realm king, show his face now? How would Elder Qin, who came from the fire Qilin, feel? Wasn't this a blatant slap to the face? Some people paid attention to Elder Qin and Ku Xianglong's faces. Sure enough, both of them were livid. This unexpected turn of events really pissed them off. Xiangdong, what the F*CK is going on? Who is this werewolf kid? Why haven't I heard you mention him before? Didn't you say that if Lin Jun was driven away, no one here would threaten Xiangnan's position? This sudden turn of events made Ku Xiangdong a little flustered. He did not know what to say. Well, I did investigate this. Everyone who is a threat to Xiangnan is under my surveillance. This werewolf, who is this werewolf? You're asking me? Who should I ask? Ku Xianglong roared angrily. Dad, don't worry. I'm guessing this is only temporary. Some of the black hole stage warriors are deliberately hiding their strength, but no matter how hard they try, they are no match for Xiangnan. They're all overdrawing their star power. They have to suppress Xiangnan in the beginning, but they will run out of energy later. So don't worry. I hope so. Ku Xianglong turned around and took this reason to explain to Elder Qin. Elder Qin had been on good terms with Ku Xianglong all these years. He had also received a lot of benefits from Kuxianglong. This time, for Kuxiangnan's matter, Elder Qin had put in a lot of effort. Therefore, in his opinion, Kuxiangnan had to advance. The primordial realm had already prepared everything. If something went wrong in the new territories, not only would Kuxianglong lose face, but he would also lose face. Don't worry, big brother Qin. I know my son's strength. His current star power has just reached 100,000. He definitely meets the standard of passing through the heavenly gate during the black hole stage. That wolf race warrior is only overdrafting his star power to charge. He will definitely fall down later. Yes, please don't let anything happen. If anything happens, neither you nor I can afford to lose face. Elder Qin said with a gloomy face. Unlike the two of them, the surrounding cultivators didn't care about what was going on. They couldn't wait for things to get more lively. Kuxiangnan had put on such a big show and even invited people from the primordial realm. If he made a big mistake, it would be too exciting. These martial artists who wish for the world to be in chaos began to jeer. Come on, Brother Wolf. Brother Wolf is awesome. We think highly of you. Ha ha. You've really raised the morale of ordinary martial artists like us. You've been silent for 100 years, but now you've shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. Did you see that? This is what it means to be an expert among the people. Normally, he doesn't reveal his strength, but when he needs to make a move, he makes a move. The moment he makes a move, he tramples the number one genius under his feet. It was unknown which martial artist started singing loudly. When it's time to make a move, rush through the universe. Hey, 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 hey. This song was actually spread from Earth. Over the years, Earthlings' music was quite well known in the universe, and some songs have been sung by others. Even if many warriors did not know the specific meaning of the song, nor did they know the lyrics, this did not prevent them from singing along loudly. One could imagine the scene of martial artists from the Dragon Clan, the Devil Clan, the Human Clan, the Mermaid Clan, the Ghost Clan, and the Rock Clan singing in unison. The Dragon Clan's and Tiger Clan's roars were pleasant to the ears, and the Mermaid Clan's singing was not bad, but the Devil Clan, the Ghost Clan, the Orcs, and the Rock Clan were purely causing trouble. Suddenly, the entire heavenly gate was filled with wailing and howling. The more they made Xianglong and the other high and mighty realm kings feel uncomfortable, the more these ordinary martial artists felt good. After all, the law did not punish the majority, and the realm king did not dare to start a massacre at the heavenly gate. This was the hatred between martial artists. Sure enough, these songs made the faces of Xianglong and the others turn ugly, and the realm king trembled in anger. His eyes were fixed on the big screen. Now, the big screen was showing the progress of the first group. There were only 4 people in the first group. One was Kuxiangnan, another was the Wolf Clan martial artist, and the other was from the Dragon Clan and the Devil Clan. These 4 people had rushed over 100,000 kilometers at almost the same time. The Wolf Clan martial artist was 2 steps ahead, and then Kuxiangnan, the Dragon Clan, and the Demon Clan martial artist were almost neck to neck. It was not only Kuxiangnan and the others who were strong, but there were also many martial artists in the Heavenly Gate who were working hard to make a name for themselves. In a vast universe, there was no lack of geniuses. Seeing that there were actually 4 people in the first group, the cheers from below became even louder. Kuxiangnan's forehead was covered with sweat. Rushing over 1,000,000 kilometers was not a simple matter. He had already figured out the specific number, and that was that 100,000 star power was definitely enough to rush through the Heavenly Gate. But one had to allocate their star power reasonably. If they overdrew their star power at the beginning, it was likely that they would fall short at the last moment. He had maintained a uniform speed, but he did not expect to fall behind. I cannot be anxious. I absolutely cannot be anxious. These people are up to no good. They would rather overdraw their own star power to disrupt my rhythm. If I fall into their trap, then they, who are already unable to pass, will not suffer any losses. But if I go, the losses will be too great. Neither I nor my family can afford to lose face like this. After so many years of cultivation, Kuxiangnan had never been an idiot. Since he had decided on a strategy, he would resolutely carry it out. Therefore, even if he fell behind the Wolf Clan martial artist, Kuxiangnan was not anxious. He still maintained his rhythm and continued to charge. Seeing this scene, Kuxianglong and the others secretly sighed in relief. Kuxiangnan was good. He did not fall into the opponent's trap. Otherwise, it was very likely that there would be trouble today. The other martial artists were a little disappointed. After all, in their opinion, the first person should still be Kuxiangnan. After all, his star power was there. This was hard strength that could not be faked. However, they still had hope. Kuxiangnan could persist for 100,000 kilometers. What about 200,000 kilometers? 300,000 kilometers? 500,000 kilometers? If he still fell behind at 800,000 kilometers, no one would be able to maintain their rhythm. However, it was very doubtful that these challengers could reach 800,000 kilometers. The charge continued. In almost a short time, they had charged over 300,000 kilometers. When they reached 300,000 kilometers, the ranking changed again. The Demon Clan martial artist rushed to the first place. I know this demon. He was third in the first charge. After that, his performance fell a little. I didn't expect him to rise again. It seems that he is hiding his strength. He is so fierce. Yeah, he is already 7 or 8 body positions ahead. Following closely behind the Devil race was actually the Dragon race. After the Dragon Clan was Kuxiangnan. The Wolf Clan martial artist had fallen to 4th place, 3 body positions behind Kuxiangnan. In the eyes of others, the Wolf Clan martial artist was no longer competitive. Only Zhu Lingshan had been paying attention to this Wolf Clan martial artist. For some reason, she hoped that this Wolf Clan martial artist would win. If only you were him. 300,000 kilometers had passed, but Kuxiangnan was still maintaining his rhythm. In his opinion, the most mysterious wolf race martial artist had already run out of energy. He had some understanding of the dragon race and the demon race, so they shouldn't be his match. 400,000 kilometers had passed. There was no change in the ranking. 500,000 kilometers had passed. There was still no change in the ranking. However, after 500,000 kilometers, the pressure increased. This was the time to test the martial artist's strength. Kuxiangnan began to exert his strength. He was not exerting his strength because his speed was still the same. However, the others had slowed down slightly. The Demon Clan martial artist and the Dragon Clan martial artist were dozens of body positions ahead of Kuxiangnan. However, this was almost their limit. Their star power was less than 100,000. It was impossible for them to pass the heavenly gate. Their goal was to disrupt Kuxiangnan's rhythm. If he could not pass, they would not pass together. After all, they all had their own background. They were not afraid of Kuxiangnan. However, after 500,000 kilometers, Kuxiangnan did not slow down or increase his speed. Their plan was foiled. At 600,000 kilometers, Kuxiangnan had caught up with the Dragon Clan martial artist and was ranked 2nd. At 700,000 kilometers, he was close to the Demon Clan martial artist. He knew that the Demon Clan martial artist was about to reach his limit. Other than him, the other star power would not exceed 90,000. As expected, Kuxiangnan's constant speed became as fast as lightning. All the big screens began to broadcast Kuxiangnan's solo charge. 800,000 kilometers. He was neck and neck with the Demon Clan martial artist. 850,000 kilometers. He had shaken off the Demon Clan. His strategy was successful. It worked. As the first place, Kuxiangnan was the first to pass 900,000 kilometers. Kuxianglong, Elder Qin, and the others high-fived in celebration. Good job, old Ku. Your son is good. He's not bad. Thank you, Brother Qin. When my son goes to the primordial realm, we'll go back. You'll have to take care of this kid in the future. The two of them laughed. The Demon Clan martial artist and the Dragon Clan martial artist had fallen. It was impossible for them to pass the heavenly gate. Just as they were about to turn back, the big screen suddenly flashed. The image of one person became 2 people. Chapter 603. This scene made everyone's hearts jump out of their chests. When the big screen was broadcasting Kuxiangnan's charge, the Wolf Clan warrior had also quietly launched a charge at the same time. Ku Xiangnan had indeed surpassed the demon race and the dragon race. But he never expected that the wolf tribe warrior would still follow him closely and launch a real charge at the last moment. This wasn't maintaining the same speed as before, but a true charge. His speed had suddenly doubled. 92, 93, 94. When he reached 950,000 kilometers, everyone cheered, because the wolf tribe warrior had caught up with Ku Xiangnan. Ku Xiangnan, who had been as steady as a mountain, finally panicked. Previously, no matter what the situation was, he walked at his own pace because he was confident. If others had less than 100,000 star power, they would not be able to compete with him, no matter what techniques they used. But now, this wolf tribe warrior could still charge at a distance of more than 900,000 kilometers. What did this mean? It meant that this person's star power was definitely above 100,000. It was not equal to 100,000, but more than 100,000. How could such a person exist? Who was this guy? Ku Xiangnan wanted to know the answer, but he had no time to think about it. His biggest wish now was to charge as soon as possible and take first place. Ku Xiangnan's star power was more than 100,000. If he advanced steadily, he would definitely be able to pass the heavenly gate. If he accelerated, it might not be so, but at this moment, he could not care so much. He immediately used what little star power he had left and began his final charge. The charge was still effective. The reckless charge allowed him to close the distance between him and the wolf race cultivator. When they reached 970,000 kilometers, the two were almost neck to neck again. Just when Ku Xiangnan thought he still had hope, the wolf tribe warrior suddenly turned around and looked at him. Do you know why I waited until now to use my power? Because I want you to know what kind of experience it is for a person to see hope and then feel despair. Well, what did you say? Don't you understand? Then I will quickly use facts to make you understand that you have no hope of winning. I will defeat you at the last moment. Ku Xiangnan, you are finished. Although the two of them were moving forward side by side, Ku Xiangnan knew that the other star power was definitely above his, and by a large margin. He was deliberately toying with him. He gritted his teeth and said, "Who are you? Why would you do that? You still have a nerve to ask why? But have you ever thought that when your brother led people to chase after Lin Jun to clear the obstacles for you, did you ever ask him why? You're Lin Jun." Ku Xiangnan's eyes widened. The Wolf Clan martial artist was naturally Lin Jun. He gave Ku Xiangnan an unforgettable smile, then suddenly accelerated. This time, he really sped up. Lin Jun's astral power had reached 120,000, so it wasn't too difficult for him to surpass Ku Xiangnan. He had a lot of astral power to use at the last moment. At 980,000 kilometers, Ku Xiangnan was still trying his best to catch up. However, on the way to 990,000 kilometers, he had already pulled open a huge gap with Lin Jun. One speed was increasing, while the other's was decreasing. A gap of a few hundred meters was opened up almost instantly. Lin Jun still had energy left. Ku Xiangnan couldn't even guarantee that he would pass the gate of heaven because of his last-minute effort, let alone surpass him. After 990,000 kilometers, everyone knew that it was over. The mysterious Wolf Clan martial artist had completed a huge turnaround, surpassing Ku Xiangnan, who was known as the #1 genius of the new territories. He was about to become the first martial artist to pass the gate of heaven in the black hole stage. Maybe there would be another black hole stage martial artist in the future, but no one could change the fact that he was #1. At this moment, almost everyone was asking who this Wolf Clan martial artist was. Such a god-level martial artist shouldn't be unknown. Only Ku Xianglong and Elder Qin's expressions were as ugly as if their mothers had died. At this moment, Ku Xiangdong suddenly walked over and said to Ku Xianglong, "Dad, this guy is Lin Jun. Are you sure?" Ku Xianglong suddenly turned around and asked, 100%. Xiangnan can't go anymore. He sent me a message. Bastard. I didn't think there would be such a cunning brat. Isn't he being chased down by your people? Maybe it's his avatar. I just found out that this brat has an avatar. Ku Xianglong slapped Ku Xiangdong to the side and then said to Elder Qin, "Big brother Qin, what do we do?" Elder Qin's face darkened. What else can we do? Beat him down. We can't afford to lose face like this. Beat him down. Ku Xianglong was stunned. Enough nonsense. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Remember, if your son fails this time, he can still try again. But if he loses the first place, then there will be no more chances. Ku Xianglong clenched his teeth. Elder Qin was right. That was his son up there, not someone else's son. If he didn't care, then who would? Lin Jun, get the hell down here. Ku Xianglong lifted his hand, and a beam of light shot into the sky. When a World King powerhouse attacked, even if it didn't reach the speed of light, it still surpassed the speed of light. In less than 10 seconds, it caught up to Lin Jun. Lin Jun felt a chill run down his spine. He felt his hair stand on end. This was an unprecedented sense of crisis. A casual attack from a World King had the strength to kill Lin Jun, especially when Lin Jun's star force was about to be exhausted. Although they were millions of kilometers apart, if Lin Jun insisted on reaching the summit, he would undoubtedly die. Looking at the heavenly gate in front of him, Lin Jun's heart was filled with hatred. He didn't think that the other party would be so despicable and unscrupulous. There was no doubt that attacking other people in the Elysium was not allowed. However, he did not know what kind of punishment he would receive. However, no matter what the punishment was, Lin Jun, would fail this time. Helpless, he twisted his body. Just as he was about to reach the summit, Lin Jun dodged this fatal attack. Reaching out his hand, Lin Jun could already feel the aura of the primordial realm. There was an incomparably large and vibrant new world. The small phoenix was waiting for him there, but he couldn't go over. His body left the point of attack, and an even greater pressure fell from the sky. Lin Jun's body fell down. Wah! The entire world was in an uproar. This sudden change stunned everyone. Damn! What the hell? Can a world king be lawless? No one cares. Why can a world king casually attack other martial artists? What about Great God Moonchaser? Isn't Great God Moonchaser the Heavenly Gate's guardian? With such an obvious act of cheating, he will definitely take action. What a pity. That wolf martial artist lost this opportunity. I wonder if he can succeed next time. Look, that's Lin Jun. So that martial artist is Lin Jun. Everyone looked up at the sky and saw that Lin Jun had already fallen down. After being attacked, his transformation technique had been removed. There was no need to hide anymore. He had to let others know that he had been treated unfairly. Ku Xianglong listened to the surrounding clamor, and his expression turned ugly. He had been instigated by Elder Qin and couldn't help but attack Lin Jun. The Heavenly Gate's guardian probably wouldn't let him off. However, at this moment, Elder Qin handed over an item to him. Brother Ku, since you have already taken action, there is no turning back. From the looks of it, Lin Jun will succeed next time. This item is a treasure of the primordial realm called the Mirror Dimension. It can seal people in a different dimension, making them unable to feel the passage of time until their life is exhausted. Use it to attack Lin Jun, and he will never have a chance to make a comeback. Even Great God Moonchaser won't be able to save him. Will this work? Huh, you're too soft-hearted. Even I am willing to part with this treasure, so why are you being so wishy-washy? Otherwise, when Great God Moonchaser appears, not only will you lose everything, but your son will also not be able to obtain first place. Elder Qin patted Ku Xianglong's shoulder. Do you want to protect your son, or do you want both of you to achieve nothing? It's up to you. Ku Xianglong grabbed the ice-cold, mirror-like item in his hand and could feel the powerful spiritual energy contained within it. This was a treasure of the primordial realm. The strongest item in the new territories was called a heaven artifact. Apart from attack and defense, it basically had no other use. Only the primordial realm had such treasures. So-called treasures all had special functions. This treasure of the mirror dimension could seal life in a different dimension forever until the life disappeared, never to be seen again. Unless you had a power stronger than the caster and could forcefully break it open. But if it was cast by a realm king, it was impossible for Lin Jun to break it open, even if he was first in the black hole stage. After weighing the pros and cons, he saw that there was already a fluctuation at the heavenly gates. because he had violated the rules. The Heavenly Gate's guardian was about to appear. At this time, Elder Qin said faintly, "Don't worry. The reason why I'm giving you this is because as long as you don't kill Lin Jun, you won't die." With this reassurance and thinking of his son, Ku Xianglong simply gritted his teeth and went all out. After doing it the first time, he didn't feel any psychological pressure the second time. "Lin Jun, don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for blocking my son's path. Disappear forever." The mirror dimension in his hand shook, and a blue light immediately enveloped Lin Jun. Before Lin Jun's body landed, an unstoppable force immediately surged towards him. In an instant, a dim light flickered and space distorted. Intersecting white spaces covered all the space around him. Everything around him disappeared. Only the seemingly eternal and deep space opened its mouth at him, swallowing him completely into the darkness. Chapter 604. Just as Lin Jun was sealed in the mirror dimension, the clouds in the sky rolled and a ray of light descended from the sky. It was so bright that everyone could not open their eyes. In the ray of light, the guardian of the Heavenly Gate, Moon Chaser, appeared. The appearance of an immortal-level great god caused everyone to retreat. It was a tribute to the great power. After Moon Chaser appeared, he stared straight at Ku Xianglong. "Do you know your crime?" Being stared at by Moon Chaser, Ku Xianglong felt sweat all over his body. His body involuntarily trembled. In the face of an irresistible power, a world king was more afraid of death than an ordinary person. I know my mistake." Moon Chaser coldly snorted. "You interfered with other martial artists at the Heavenly Gate. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Don't think that I can't deal with you just because you played a trick to seal someone in a different dimension. Since you can seal others, I can seal you too." After saying that, Moon Chaser raised his hand, and a spatial crack appeared beside Ku Xianglong. This is not a different dimension, but a dimensional crack. Energy storms run rampant inside, and you can't cultivate. If you can survive for 9,000 years inside, you can obtain freedom. Ku Xianglong never dreamed that Moon Chaser would give him such a severe punishment. He already regretted it. A world king's life was only 10,000 years. He was almost 3,000 years old now. How could he survive for 9,000 years? What's more, there was an endless energy storm. He was going to suffer greatly inside, and it was a sin without a day to shine. Unfortunately, in the face of an immortal-level martial artist, he had no ability to resist. Ku Xianglong screamed as his body was pulled into the spatial crack. Soon after, the spatial crack closed. Moon Chaser's gaze fell on Elder Qin. "Elder the Fire Kirin, do you know that you have done a stupid thing? Great God, what did you say?" "What did I say?" "Oomph. In order to save your face, you encouraged Ku Xianglong to attack Lin Jun. Your action destroyed a genius of your Fire Kirin. Even if Ku Xianglong did not reach the top and Lin Jun succeeded, it would still be your Fire Kirin's merit. But you foolishly ruined everything. You will not have a good ending when you return to your clan." "You mean? Lin Jun is also a Fire Kirin?" "Ku Xianglong didn't tell me. As an elder, you can't see through everything. This is your dereliction of duty. Forget it. You and I are neither relatives nor friends. I won't say too much to you. With such an attitude, you won't be able to ascend to immortality. You have no hope." After saying this, Zhui Yu no longer paid attention to Elder Qin. Instead, his gaze fell on the place where Lin Jun disappeared. After watching for a while, Moon Chaser's eyes revealed a pensive look, as if he couldn't figure it out. He turned around and disappeared. Moon Chaser had only appeared for a short while, leaving everyone dumbfounded. This big play was played out too quickly, with too many twists and turns, Someone from the primordial realm came to receive Ku Xianglong. Lin Jun's situation was reversed, and Ku Xianglong made a move to seal Lin Jun. Then, Moon Chasing Moon appeared to seal Ku Xianglong. This scene was truly dazzling. After Zhui Yu left, Elder Qin crouched on the ground in regret. His intestines were about to turn green from regret. He didn't expect Lin Jun to also be a fire Qilin. What kind of stupid thing did he do? If he didn't care about anything, the fire Qilin could even take first and second place this time. But it was destroyed by him. When he looked at Ku Xiangnan again, he wasn't so kind anymore. No longer in the mood to pay attention to Ku Xiangnan, Elder Qin turned around and returned to the primordial realm through the wormhole. He reckoned that the news must have spread back to the primordial realm. Now, he had to think about how to deal with the censure from within the clan. The outsiders left, leaving only the martial artists in the Heavenly Gate. After watching the drama, everyone gradually dispersed. They still had to cultivate and break through the Heavenly Gate. Although Lin Jun was sealed this time, everyone had already determined who the first place was. As for whether Ku Xiangnan could break through a second time, it didn't seem to be that important anymore. Ku Xiangnan was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Whether or not he could break through the Heavenly Gate was a problem. If he continued, would he become a laughingstock? If he didn't break through, would he stay in the new territories forever? He was in a dilemma. Endless darkness surrounded him. Lin Jun's eyelids couldn't help but droop. In this endless darkness, he only felt his breathing slow and warm, making him subconsciously want to sleep. Lin Jun knew that he definitely couldn't fall asleep. Once he fell asleep, he might never have the chance to wake up again. He had to leave this place. Otherwise, he would be trapped here forever. Forcefully suppressing his heavy sleepiness, Lin Jun stabbed out with his spear. For this stab, he gathered almost all of his astral power and used the power of the spatial laws at the same time. Collapse. As long as he could tear open a spatial crack, Lin Jun could teleport out. However, this strongest stab didn't cause any ripples in the air. There was no space-time tremor, no spatial crack. It was like a needle piercing cotton. There was no reaction at all. After stabbing out with his spear, Lin Jun knew that it was useless. This was because Lin Jun wasn't strong enough. It was also because the space here was too stable. If he could cause a little reaction, it would give Lin Jun hope. However, this lack of reaction was too despairing. No, I have to cultivate. I have to break through. I have to break through to the nebulous stage. I have to break this spatial cage and get out. Lin Jun tried to cultivate, but to his horror, he found that there was no way to circulate his astral power. Since I can't cultivate, then I'll expand the dark star space. Although I feel that it will take at least a few hundred years to light up the next 5 demon star, I can't give up. However, he immediately found that not only was he unable to cultivate, but he also couldn't expand the dark star space. The Dantian Shi and the dark star space were lifeless pools of stagnant water. Drowsiness hit him again. Lin Jun tried his best to keep his eyelids open. He definitely wouldn't let himself fall asleep and search for a way to leave this place. Right, I still have a clone. If my clone can rush back, then I should have a chance to break through this strange space. Lin Jun's thoughts shifted to his clone. The clone had been flying in space for 100 years. When the clone left the Divine Gate, Lin Jun filled the spaceship with energy blocks so that the spaceship could continue to fly. Behind the spaceship, the people arranged by Ku Xiangdong were still dutifully pursuing Lin Jun. However, they would never have imagined that the person inside the spaceship was just Lin Jun's clone. For more than 100 years, other than occasionally setting the course for the spaceship, he had been sleeping. Lin Jun controlled both his main body and his clone at the same time, relying on his mental power. Now that Lin Jun's main body was fighting against the Sandman, his clone was also in a daze. This won't do. I have to find time to shake these people off. Otherwise, my main body and clone won't be able to meet up. However, these people have several spaceships taking turns to chase after me. I don't have a chance at all. If I want to shake them off, the only way is to go back to the chaotic Star River. These people can't pass through the light corridor. I will go in from here and come out from the dark corridor of the Demon Bug Empire. Only then will I be able to shake them off completely. Although this path is extremely long and may take a few years or even decades, at least there is hope. After Lin Jun made up his mind, he immediately accelerated the spaceship and rushed back to the chaotic Star River. His clone couldn't come for the time being, so his main body couldn't get any support. Lin Jun's only choice now was to continue fighting against the sleepiness and persevere. Lin Jun felt that this was the most difficult thing in the world. In front of him was an endless intertwining black and white grid. It seemed like he was moving forward, but it also seemed like he was stopping. He didn't know where he was going, nor did he know where he would stop. There were no signs of life, no other colors, and no sound. There was no way to cultivate, no way to improve, and no way to do anything. Only his muddled mind was supporting him to not be beaten down by the demon of sleep. When a person felt sleepy and was not disturbed, very few people could resist it. They would quickly fall asleep. If he wanted to resist this sleepiness, he had to have an extremely strong willpower and a strong soul. Lin Jun didn't know how long he would be drifting here, but he knew one thing. He couldn't sleep. If he slept, he would sleep forever. He tried hard to remember everything he had experienced, his past life and his current life. In his past life, he had lived a very bad life. He didn't want to achieve anything, but he didn't want to make any mistakes. He muddled along for 1,000 years, but in the end, his lifespan ran out and he died. In this life, he didn't fear anyone or anything. He took advantage of opportunities to come all the way here. His biggest advantage wasn't his rebirth advantage, but his unyielding willpower and strong soul. In the face of some unstoppable forces, Lin Jun was always able to survive in desperate situations. He believed that this time would be no exception. Isn't it just not sleeping? This is nothing to a spirit reader master. As long as my willpower isn't beaten down by sleepiness, I can keep going. Lin Jun's hope was to wait for the arrival of his doppelganger. With this hope, he could persevere. However, he still thought too simply of things. It was already very difficult to keep the main body from being beaten down by sleepiness. He didn't have time to take care of his doppelganger. In the second year after the spaceship entered the chaotic Star River, his doppelganger fell into a deep sleep. Although he had shaken off his pursuers, in the face of the endless dark tunnel, his doppelganger couldn't hold on. Only Lin Jun's main body was still persevering. In the face of the endless alternate dimensions, he struggled to open his eyes and resist the waves of sleepiness. He had no concept of time, and there was almost nothing to cheer him up.